All right, I have 6 o'clock, so we'll call our Charter Township of Long Lake Board of Trustees regular meeting to order for July 14th, 2026. We all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Wheelock.
Here.
Balderak.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Schaub.
Here.
Sievert.
Here.
Lemkool.
Here. All right. First public comment. Rhonda?
Any person shall be permitted to address this meeting to the Board of Trustees, which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act as amended. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following. Any person wishing to address the board shall state their name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer trustees' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may extend the amount of time each person is allowed to speak. If a group wishes to address the board, the chairperson may require the group to designate a spokesperson. Want me to do the last one? Sorry. The Township Board does not respond to comments other than questions by the trustees or to make a necessary clarification. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board.
All right. First public comment.
Isaiah Fox. My address is 4113 Sarah Lane. Recently, me and my friends were at the timbers outside of usual operating hours, and we're off the trails by the barn. And we apologize for being at the timbers outside of unusual operating hours and for climbing up on the roof and taking a picture. While me and my friends did not cause any damage to the property, we understand that respecting the property means being there at usual operating hours and only following the trails and making sure not to climb on any of the property. And for that, we would like to apologize to the board and to Long Lake Township.
Thank you. You guys rest your names again.
Thank you.
My name is Sawyer Caldwell Printner. I live at 2752 Sawyer Road.
Liam Bergen, I live at 4429 Goldenrod Drive.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming out. And, it takes a lot to own up to doing things you shouldn't do. A lot of times we make mistakes as kids and young adults, and then sometimes you get a chance to make it right going forward. So thank you for coming out and taking the time to see the board and owning up to that.
Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great rest of your guys' day.
Jan Messerschmidt, 7550 Fox Grove Lane. I am just interested in coming up with an update on where we are with the short-term vacation rental adjustments so that I can understand what's going on. Please. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Larry Galehouse, live at 6808 Brandau Woods Drive. The reason for my speaking is I'm in total support of the board's ownership and the township ownership of Twin Lakes Park. I want you to know that before the township took it over, it was a mess. The buildings were not in repair.
Larry,
and now
can you put the mic closer? Thank you.
And now the park is in very good shape. So thank you very much, and continue with the ownership of the Twin Lakes Park. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Heather Cartwright, Long Lake Township, 8973 Gilbert Trail, Traverse City, Michigan. I am the great-granddaughter of Judge Parm Gilbert, and I'm here with my sister Heidi Cartwright, who is also a great-granddaughter of Judge Parm Gilbert. I'm here on behalf of all the Gilbert family heirs with whom I am in contact and have consulted about the family's interests. Judge Parham Gilbert donated most of the land for the Twin Lakes Park, starting in 1941. The land was previously a farm owned by my great-grandmother, Emma Thomas Gilbert's family. Emma was Judge Gilbert's wife. The Gilbert family's intentions for the park seem to be a focus of the current park neighbors' requests. The Gilbert family supported and continues to support the park transfer from Grand Traverse County to Long Lake Township. We believe the transfer is consistent with the terms of the original 3 deeds from Judge Gilbert and Judge Gilbert's expressed intentions for the property and is a valid transfer. Judge Gilbert wrote a letter to the county at the time he first gave property for the park. In the letter, he stated, and this is a quote, "It is my thought to convey this property to the county as a county park to be used for any purpose consistent therewith, and particularly the following," and he listed 3 things. A, for use of the 4-H clubs. B, for members of the Grange, which is a rural agricultural organization. And C, most specifically, he said, to be used by and let for use to any other group, particularly of young people, to be used for the same purpose. That is to say, recreation, camping, occupation in connection with camp life. And this might well include underprivileged children who may not have the opportunity to enjoy outings otherwise, and possibly also, on occasion, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, end quote. Judge Gilbert's youngest daughter, Elizabeth Betty Gilbert Roan, wrote about him later on during the time the park was Camp Royale. Quote, "Throughout his years as a judge, he attempted rehabilitation of first offenders and had a real concern for the welfare of young people. In 1941, he donated land for a campsite on Twin Lakes as a community center for educational and recreational development for the youth of Grand Traverse area. I'm sure he would be both pleased and proud to see how this facility is serving its purpose." We are appreciative of the community's support for Twin Lakes as a park, and particularly as a camp for children and youth. From the time the park was first established, the community funded and supported the park's evolving development and use consistent with the judge's hopes. Initially, the 4-H organization and other community members, including the park neighbors, funded and operated park functions. Later on, Camp Royale, a camp for disabled children, operated on the property.
I try to keep everybody 3 minutes, so
Okay.
wrap it up.
All right. I can just highlight that we think the most important things about the judge, what the judge said, is that this park be available to youth in Grand Traverse County, which we believe it is, and also that it is for youth and has programs for youth. And I echo what the previous speaker said about the condition of the park under county management, and that's one of the reasons that we support. So we thank you for your overview of the park, and we support the transfer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I use a timer. I was using the one on my phone, so I forgot to start this one, so. That way everybody can see it.
Dave Garvin, 9888 North Longleaf Road. I'd like to thank all the staff and everybody here for all the parks, Twin Lakes, and all the beaches. Today you can see how well used. I know it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I thank you very much to see the people do it, and for my grandkids and the future generations to come. So thanks, and we got a lot of parks to take care of, but thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
Hello there. Marilyn Deere, 8708 Red Bark Pass. And I just wanted to also say I am proud of what the Twin Lodge looks like and the whole facility around it. I think it's a place that we can be proud of and take our kids and grandkids. And so I like the job that we're doing there. So thanks for keeping it up.
Thank you.
3 minutes? Okay. Bill Scheer, 9777 Skyver Road. In a way, I'm kind of torn between the left and the right on this subject. Perhaps if they had a park named after my grandpa, who was supervisor out here for many years, I'd feel differently. But East Bay had a chance to do something with that park, or the county did, I mean, and they didn't do anything with it. And since we've taken it over, it's shown improvements, and there is a plan for more improvements, which is, I think, what the judge would want. Someday I'll talk to him maybe. But anyway, it's kind of scary to think that the county is going to do something with East Bay, the property out in East Bay they're taking care of, the Boy Scout camp and all that, all those acres out there. How are they going to develop that? They couldn't develop this little park. How are they going to take care of a big one? But we'll wait and see. Miracles do happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kay Gallagher Ingraham, Long Lake resident. As you prepare to enter closed-door meeting to discuss the lawsuit filed by my attorney, Brace Kern, you need to understand exactly who you're dealing with. We have expanded this legal complaint. More plaintiffs, your own neighbors, are standing with us, and we are not backing down. Frankly, I feel there have been more than enough behind closed-door meetings about Twin Lakes Park. This is a public asset, and this entire matter should be discussed right out in the open where the community can hear it. What is happening here has crossed the line from a legal dispute and to outright cruelty. In August of 2024, because of the township's aggressive tactics, my elderly father was forced to sit through a deposition right there at Twin Lakes. He was put through that unnecessary stress just to be mean-spirited, and we lost him just a few months later in January of 2025. The way this township has handled this dispute has caused deep, irreversible pain to our family that has spent generations supporting Twin Lakes. But the intimidation didn't stop with my family. Look at what happened to Ryan Walsh. He was the interim Parks and Recreation Director for the county. He is an absolute professional, a veteran who served our country, and a man who still carries himself with that same unwavering integrity today. He had the courage to speak out and say no to how this park transfer was being handled. And what did he get for his honesty? Harassment and retaliation. When County Parks and Rec stood its ground, the transfer was quietly pushed past them straight to the Grand Traverse Board anyway. Now you are actively fundraising for Twin Lakes. But as a bookkeeper with 45 years of experience, I'm telling you that your financial transparency is non-existent. Where is the proof of revenue? Where are the verified expense reports? I know what your defense is going to be tonight. You're going to point to the park and say, look at all the repairs we've made. Look at the big plans we have. We deserve to keep it. But let's be completely honest. Doing repairs on a public asset does not buy you the right to own it. Having future plans doesn't excuse a hostile, unauthorized transfer. If you remodel a house, you don't legally own it. Doesn't make you the owner. It just means you spent money you shouldn't have on a property that isn't yours. You cannot buy your way into ownership of a public county park using our own funds, all while keeping the books completely in the dark. Tonight you have a clean choice. My attorney's letter gives you an opportunity to resolve this matter before it escalates any further back in court. You can choose to end the hostility, bring these discussions out into the open, and return Twin Lakes to the county oversight where it legally belongs. Do the right thing for the families of the township.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to the consent calendar.
Tonight, the consent calendar consists of the Township Board meeting minutes of June 9th, 26, the Treasurer's report as of 5/31/26, the Planner's report from June 26, Zoning report June 26, OEO report June 26, Parks Department report June 26, Executive Assistant report June 26, Assessor's second quarter report 2026, the check register for June of 2026, Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Report, June 2026, Grand Traverse County Road Commission, June 2026, Emergency Service Station, June 2026, and Wenrich Farms LLC liquor license.
Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll support.
All right, we have a motion by Kendra, support by Dwayne. Any,
Discussion?
yep, any further discussion?
Question on the Weinrich Farms LLC
The only way
liquor
you can
license.
question is to take it off. And
Take it
you
off.
can do that.
Can we take it off?
Yep.
Thank you.
So we'll do down and put that under 3, or let's do it, 3A. Does that work for you?
Works for me.
Okay, we'll put it on 3A. Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor with that change, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, so we'll go down to approve or amend the agenda. I have 2 changes. One, under 4, Mandy from Traverse Connect will be here to talk about Beyond Lucid contract and what Traverse Connect can do for that as well. I don't see her yet, but she was running, oh, there she is. There you go. All right, she's here. And then the other one is spelled, it was supposed to be Brace Kern, not Bryce Kern, so we need to make that change as well, under 7. Okay?
I'll make a motion. Do we need to make a motion to accept this?
Yeah.
Make a motion to accept the realigned business for tonight with adding in 3A, pulling out the number 13 from the consent calendar, adding Mandy from Traverse Connect, and changes as you noted.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Kevin, second by Rhonda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Any conflict of interest on the agenda today? All right, seeing none, we'll go on to special reports. Grand Traverse County Commissioner, Commissioner Morris. Good evening.
Hello. I'm so glad that we have this air conditioned.
I turned it down.
Well, you know. All right, so we've had a lot going on, but the word of the day right now is millage requests. So tomorrow, yeah, I heard that. Tomorrow, we're going to be presented with a millage request for Tart Trails. As far as millages go, 0.3 mils, that's a pretty small ask, which can be used to leverage other dollars for creating and maintaining trails. But if you have any thoughts on it, I would really welcome them before tomorrow morning. So, and as I shared with you before, Cherryland Humane Society isn't really interested in continuing to house our strays. So the health department's putting out a letter of interest to see whether other entities might be out there who are willing to help out and house our stray animals. We'll also be seeing updated language for the animal control millage coming up to help fill in some gaps. As far as counties go with the animal control millage, we're like way down, and we have a whole lot of animal welfare to deal with. So we recently had a joint study session with the City Commission to hear a strategic vision from the Housing and Homelessness Task Force. So I expect to eventually see a millage request on that, but tomorrow's agenda has a related resolution to that meeting. On July 1st, we received an update for the opioid settlement plan, and we're one step closer to those opioid dollars being put to good use. And in spite of significant challenges and worries, our yearly audit was submitted on time. And I just want to take a moment here to deeply appreciate Dean Bott and his team for going above and beyond to make sure that we got that done on time. We're still working away at the Alpha project, Project Alpha, and we're working on security for the governmental center. We've been doing a lot of listening regarding important issues. Finally, September 10th is the annual public hearing for Northern Lakes Community Mental Health from 11 to 1 at the Hall Street location. And then we have 2 other locations within the 6-county region to make sure we pull in people from the smaller counties. We welcome any public, stakeholders, people who receive mental health services, people who love someone who receive mental health services. And you'll probably get tired of hearing me talk about it by the time it rolls around, but we would really like to have a good public turnout to get some informational opportunities of what the future of mental health holds for Northern Lakes, and answer questions. So that's all I have for you today. Do you have any questions for me? No?
No. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Annie.
All right, Grand Terrace County Sheriff, Deputy McGurrian. And you have something special going on Monday, don't you? Sunday.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Hi. First off, I just wanted to talk to you about those kids that we saw that gave the first public comment. I'm very happy that they came here to apologize. They're very good kids. They made a stupid decision, and we thought that having them make an apology instead of getting law enforcement involved is probably our best bet. And so I'm very pleased that they are here, and they were kind and apologized. So on that note, since the last meeting, I've responded to 83 calls for service. That's a little bit of an uptick, but that makes sense in the summer months. I was asked by a resident recently if that's 83 calls of service for Long Lake Township. No, that's just for me. Unfortunately, I don't really have access to all the stats for Long Lake Township when I'm not working, but that is going to be much higher than 83 calls for service. That's just my personal call volume.
They're in the packet.
They're in the packet. Perfect. He has access, I don't. Perfect. I assume that there might be people in this room that want to discuss, I was told they would be in this room, about the house on London Drive, what we kind of refer to as the problem house. I'm not sure if people will be discussing that at the second public comment or not, but if you have questions or concerns or just want to talk to me after the meeting about London Drive, I am more than happy to stay and talk to you about that. And then lastly, fraud presentation is this Sunday in this room at 11 a.m. I call it a fraud presentation, but it's more or less a discussion. I do about 6 of these or so a year all throughout Grand Traverse County, and the hope is to prevent just one fraud from occurring. It's one of our most common calls that we receive. So there's a group of 3 of us that put on these presentations. We're basically just going to have an open discussion about what the most common types of fraud are in Grand Traverse County, how you can avoid them, how you can protect yourself. And that's, again, Sunday the 19th at 11 a.m. It looks like we might be getting rain that day. So if you have nothing else to do, stop on it. So please park in the designating parking areas at both Gilbert and Crescent Shores, please. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you for what you did.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I know we approved our agenda to what we are. Can I change a little bit? Because I know that the reason we have Chief Case here with a lot of firefighters and paramedics, that they have some recognition to do. And I'd hate to see them go get a call and they're sitting here. So is that okay to do?
Can they do it under public comment?
Yeah. Well, that's down a little ways though.
So.
I'm asking the clerk.
I don't know if you can amend the agenda twice, but I'm going to say you can.
Our attorney says we can.
I'm going to say you can. Okay, that's good.
So I just want to take and honor their time here, because I know we have a lot of things on the agenda, but I know Chief Case, most of you don't know Chief Case, but Chief Case is with Green Lake Township. He's been helping us out with our chief stuff and all that since our chief has left us. And so I want to give him the time as well as the stuff that's here and the people are here. All right?
Perfect, thank you, I appreciate that. So as Supervisor Lemko said, my name is Darrell Case. I'm the fire chief for Green Lake Township and the interim fire chief for Long Lake Township. And I wanted to take an opportunity to do a couple awards. Last month, Dave, come on up. Usually I'm not a big award or presenter for subjects of it's your job, but a little outstanding. So last month Dave suffered a cardiac arrest in the station. So this is what we train, this is what we do. However, when it's one of your own, the survivability of a cardiac arrest is about 10 to 12% in America. So statistically speaking, that's not very good. And that's increased since the time I've been a paramedic. It used to be about 6% in America. So we've just about doubled that bar, but that's still not great. So you're talking somebody that was clinically dead, no pulse, not breathing. And then it's one of your own. It's somebody that you break bread with, you share stories with. For most of us, we spend more time with our coworkers than we do with our own family members, and especially in emergency services, when we're constantly away from them. So I wanted to take the opportunity to recognize those individuals. And interestingly enough, we had 2 cardiac arrest saves within a week. And the other family was going to plan on being here and speak under open, but they were unable to, and they might make it next month. So, so I just want to, so Matt Duran, if you'd come up, Sean, Randy. And I'll just read these off. So this is a Distinguished Service Award for outstanding teamwork on June 4th, 2026 in response to the cardiac arrest in the fire station and successful resuscitation. Your commitment, skills, and compassion inspire and strengthen the team. So Matt Duran. Sir. Thank you. Randy. Thank you. Sean.
Thank you so much.
Good driving.
Thank you.
And also Hayden, who is one of our new members that just completed fire training, and he'll start EMT actually at the beginning of next month. Hayden was on that call also. So
Yeah.
we're the outcome couldn't have been any better. But like I said, we'd rather have that be 90%, but there's a lot of factors that play into that. But here's living, breathing proof of the hard work and dedication of the team. So thank you.
And Dave was just released medically Friday to come back to work. So,
Thank you for allowing me to change that.
all right, we'll go on to Grand Traverse County Road Commission. We have Larry here. So we have a road that has an issue that looks like this.
Yeah.
The water's down a little bit, but there's a culvert that went, and so, right?
Well, it's no culvert there, but it is, it's a big dip in our road, and it's just, it's a seasonal road, and that's the tough part of this whole situation. That's why I called Ron, and when we have a local road and it's seasonal, just kind of like your brine, you guys pay 100% of the fix. So I got with Ron, I said, hey, here's a bid, or an estimate, I should say, of what we think it'll take to fix this road. So we did get out there a little bit. We found some fill that was kind of free stuff, so we got out there and filled that in. We got some crushed concrete on the top of it right now, so it's kind of one of those things where we wanted to get it out, or we had time to do it, and I know it's before the meeting and before the approval and everything like that, but right now, it's about $14,800 estimate is what we're looking for to fix the sinkhole. So that's kind of why I'm here, to try to get some approval from the board. So,
So I did some looking. So we have our Metro X money is the budget line item that we use for our brining. There's a $31,725 in that fund balance. We should be receiving our bill for about $9,497 for the brine. We haven't got that bill yet.
Right.
So that leaves us with money left over to fix this. So,
do we think we'll only need one brine?
yes, we've been successful with one brine for the last several years. They've changed the process with the brining. We used to do it twice. It's more expensive, so it seems to be working. So,
yeah.
And we brine that section of the road, even though it is seasonal. That is part of the areas that we already brine and grade.
I'll make a motion to approve the Hennesser sinkhole repair from Grand Traverse County for an estimate of $14,800.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Kendra, support by Kevin. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Perfect.
All right.
Excellent. Thank you.
Expect to see it done tomorrow.
Yes. We'll do our best.
All right.
All right, thank you.
You got a good start on it. So.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Thanks.
All right, we'll get into our Dennis Gartland audit.
Hello, my name's Marissa Milliron, and I'm going to go over a little bit of the management discussion and analysis part of the financials, and then Trina will go over the audit-related communication letter here. So, in the financial statements, in the independent auditor's report, Long Lake Township received a clean opinion in all material respects within the financial statement, so that's good.
So you want any pages you want me to go down?
Yep, I'll tell you. Now it is page 5.
It's not page 5 on mine, but I'll get there. There we go.
Yeah, next one down here. Yep. So in the financial highlights here, a little bit further down there, it talks about your total net position related to the township's governmental activities. And that increased by approximately $807,000. And the unrestricted portion of that increased by approximately $354,000. The township's total net position increased by $832,000 or 5% in 2025. Right at the bottom of page 5 here, it talks about the general fund. And the general fund fund balance increased by the $395,000. And with the total fund balance for the year for the general fund specifically of $1.6 million. The next page here, further down there, this is a summary schedule of net position. So this shows your governmental activities, your business type activities, your assets, liabilities, and your net position as well. So looking at your total assets, they increased about $800,000 from 2024 to 2025. And then down in the lower part right there, that net position, you can see the total net position for 2025 was $17 million. In 2024, it was $16 million, so that's also increased. And you can see how it's broken down there a little bit with unrestricted, special revenue, debt service, capital projects. Of your $17 million in net position, though, 14.8 is in capital assets. So that's building, things like that. On the next page here, this is a summary statement of activity here, showing revenues and expenditures by governmental, business, and then in total. The total revenues between years is pretty similar. It only increased, I think, like $25,000 over on the side. And then down below there, you can see, again, your net position from the $16 million to the $17 million. The last page I was just going to highlight here, and this is the fund balance for general fund, would be page 12. Yeah, right there. So there, again, going over your net position, your fund balances, you can see where the general fund balance is split up for, what it's split up for. Prepaid expenditures and notes receivable is $126,000 there. Capital projects, there's $47,000 for the capital projects, $141,000 for next year's expenditures, and then there's an unassigned of $1.2 million. And that is all I have on these, so I'll let Trina go over the letter.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Trina Oakes, audit partner with Dennis Gartland in Neergarth, and he's already there. He went back to the top. I'll go over the audit-related communications for December 31st, 2025. So this letter is issued at the completion of the audit to those charged with governance, and it includes the same things we're required to report to you every year. So the first page talks about internal controls, and that's really the policies and procedures of the township.
And on page 2, we did have 2 items related to that, that we have found in prior years that are common in smaller governmental units. So we did find that there was a lack of segregation of duties, which means that there's not a complete segregation among the people who are doing the bookkeeping, the people who are approving transactions, and the people who are reconciling accounts. So it's just an inherent weakness in your internal controls due to the smaller size of the staff at the township. And then the preparation of the financial statements relates to the entire book of financial statements. The standards say that management of the township is supposed to prepare that. In reality, we prepare it for all of our governmental clients. And this is letting you know that we have provided drafts, we've provided all of our audit adjustments to the management of the township. We reviewed everything and they have approved it. So we're still independent to issue an opinion on the financial statements. Moving down the letter, a couple of general recommendations or general items to highlight here. There were some line items in the general fund that did exceed the budget. So we have disclosed those in the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. However, the total expenses were within the budget for the year for the general fund. Journal entry review, when we talk about that lack of segregation of duties, one way to kind of counteract that is to get somebody else involved in the approval of journal entries. So somebody other than the preparer should review and approve those journal entries on a regular basis. And that will help make sure that one person's work is always checked by somebody else. And then ambulance billing receivables, reconciliation. There were some issues with some of the reports this year. So the township contracts with Blair Township to run those reports. It's my understanding there was somebody out on sick leave at the time we were looking at them. But some of the numbers were not necessarily reconciling forward. So there were differences each month, and those differences kept increasing. So we recommend that you take a closer look at that and try to develop with Blair Township a method for reconciling the new runs, the collections, and what your receivables are at the end of each month. So we suspect it's just that the reports are not consistently printed at the same time each month, or it's not the same report that's getting printed. And then just a general item that's not included in the letter, but we did talk about when we looked at the drafts. The township has 2 enterprise funds, so one for the Manhattan duplex and one for the Timbers Fund. And accounting standards require that if an operation is designed to cover its cost, you would include it as an enterprise fund. In reality, particularly in relation to the Timbers, that fund is always, there's always transfers from the general fund to help cover those costs and those capital improvements. There also has been transfers to the duplex fund in the past to help cover depreciation expense. So it might be more appropriate to actually close those funds to the general fund because it's actually subsidizing the operations and they're not actually covering their operations. So that's just if the township wishes, they could close those funds to the general fund. On the top of page 3, again, this is the general recommendations. We mentioned the accounting estimates. So inherent in the financial statements, there's some estimated amounts, including your depreciation expense, which is based on the useful lives of your fixed assets. The other post-employment benefit liability, which is based on an actuarial report that you obtain, and then your leases receivable, which are based on the lease agreements. So we did look at those calculations and found that they were all reasonable. As far as significant disclosures, we mentioned the lease receivables for the tower leases and the defined contribution pension plan and other post-employment benefits. We had no difficulties encountered in performing the audits. On page 4, it lists the audit adjustments that were posted. We do assist the township in posting accruals at the end of the year, so accounts receivable and accounts payable, which is what most of these items are related to, as well as adjusting the OPEB accrual based on the actuary report, posting depreciation expense based on the updated depreciation schedule. So that's most of what these items are. We had no disagreements with management and no consultations with other accountants. And then finally, on the bottom of page 5, there's some new standards coming out in the future that will affect your financial statements. It seems like GASB always is busy issuing new standards. So the first couple are effective in the fiscal year 2026 that you are in. The financial reporting model improvements covers some changes to what you will see in the management's discussion and analysis. And the other item is on the budget to actual schedules. It will require a narrative at the bottom that discusses, where the township will discuss why you're over budget in line items. And then just disclosure of certain capital assets affects only capital assets under these specific situations. So leases, public-private partnerships, and information technology arrangements. So we don't really see that having a significant effect for the township. Uniform grants guidance is, again, another informational item. So under federal regulations, they increase the capitalization threshold for fixed assets up to $10,000. Long Lake Township has a policy of $5,000. So if you wish to increase your policy up to $10,000, you'd still be within federal regulations if you increased it to $10,000. And then subsequent events is another standard where there's additional disclosures if there's subsequent items that happened after the end of the fiscal year, after December 31st, before we issue the financial statements that would have a financial effect. It requires disclosure of those as well. And then finally, under other matters, it mentions the supplementary information and required supplementary information, so the OPEB, or the other post-employment benefit trend information, the combining funds in the back of the financial statements. We did review all of that information and reconcile it to the township's accounts. So any questions on anything that we can answer for the board? Yes.
As we've got a list of whatever, roughly 19 audit adjustments that were made. Is that what you see kind of standard across townships our size on these audits you're doing, or are we high, low?
It's maybe a little bit more than normal. It just depends. So some of the receivables and payables, sometimes those are posted before we come out for the audit. And certainly we could, schedule a time to come out preliminarily and maybe have some of those. So we could update your fixed asset schedule prior to the audit and send it to you, and then you can post those adjustments rather than having us do it.
Sure.
But a lot of it is, things like those lease receivables, we have to run a long amortization schedule, and we have software that does that. So some of it is just a factor of us having an easy way to calculate it versus the township not having that.
Sure, it makes total sense. And I asked the questions, I have complete faith in everything that our township and staff, clerk and treasurer are doing with everything here. So my questions at this point are just more from a process and procedure standpoint. If we can, if we have a plan with what's been recommended in terms of the opportunities and the suggestions being made, if we could, I don't know if we need to get into discussion on each of them. But maybe just bring back how you're planning to address each of those as we would go forward to try to minimize the list of adjustments and tackle some of those opportunities that, were outlined, particularly relative. The one that's the biggest concern for me, I guess, is the journal entry approvals, or what we can do with that to where there's unusual.
We've already implemented that, so that's already going.
Perfect. So where you've already done it, you just either bring back what you plan to do with those or how it's already been adjusted. Just since we have a fiduciary responsibility on this, I just want to make sure we're following off on the recommendations. So it can be short and sweet, but just make sure we're doing it. If we can.
Yeah, the big thing on the ambulance that was a hard one. And it's been,
right.
A lot of it is that you bill for the ambulance run, and then you wait to see what you're going to get from an insurance company or Medicare or Medicaid, and then you write those off, and sometimes it could be a year, 2 years down the road that you might all of a sudden get a payment.
Right.
And so a lot of us just trying to figure out where that
The timing.
and the timing of everything. And this time, we ended up getting a lot of different reports, and I know that Kendra was dealing with a lot of that, trying to put that all, and Dave was dealing with a lot of it. So we're just trying to put that together and we'll sit down with them and see if we come up with a better result.
Yeah, just the way it tracks it. Don't we also handle, if they're township residents, what we would write off versus otherwise? So I know there's a variety of things that are done that all seem perfectly appropriate and proper. It's just how do we track it, I guess.
Yeah, if you're a township resident, you would get a soft bill, and basically it just goes away. But if you're a non-resident, you would get a hard bill, which those go to collections, and you go through that process. But everybody gets a bill that either gets turned to insurance company, Medicaid, that type of stuff. So a resident shouldn't have to pay, but sometimes
Right.
it should.
And we spent some time, I kept thinking it's got to be the township residents that are causing the non-reconciliation issue, because there's a bill that's generated, but it's never actually paid. So how is the write-off process?
Right.
So, but again, I think there were some people that were out at the time, so we couldn't necessarily get our the questions answered, so.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to accept the audit?
I'll make a motion to accept the audit.
I'll second it.
All right, motion by Kevin, second by Rhonda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, now we'll go on to GEI Natural Features Update. Zach. I think I got your presentation.
Yeah, I've just got some notes on here.
Let's go to the beginning of it.
Yeah, that helps. Good evening. I'm Zach Pittman from GEI Consultants. And GEI recently completed an update of the township's natural features inventory. I was maybe a little overambitious with my presentation. It's kind of long, so Ron, I might have you skip through it a little bit at, will you be able?
See if it reaches that far and you can do it. Should be able to click on it. If not, I can do it.
Nope.
All right, I can do it. You're not seeing what I see.
But we can start with this slide. So in 2006, Niswander Environmental completed a natural features inventory for Long Lake Township. And to do that, they utilized a combination of aerial imagery analysis, so looking at aerial imagery from 2003, and field site visits. And through that combination of data, they developed an inventory of the natural features of the township, and that included things like view sheds, wildlife corridors, woodlands, wetlands, lakes and streams, and I think the one that you guys might be most interested in, and I'll try and focus on tonight, is natural areas. So in developing these natural areas, which are areas that are collectively greater than or equal to 20 acres in size, and they provide important habitat for wildlife. They provide important connectivity between woodlands and wetlands on the landscape. They developed a scoring system for those natural areas that allowed them to prioritize the different natural areas as priority 1, 2, or 3, with priority 1 natural areas being the most important, highest priority for preservation in the township. So Ron, you can move on. We'll stick with this next slide. I mentioned woodlands, and that's going to factor into this natural areas scoring. So this is a map. This is one from 2006 that was originally produced by Niswander. It shows the areas of woodland throughout the township. In orange, you have developed forest land. The lighter green is upland conifers. The brighter green, the darker green, is upland hardwoods. And then there's a very small amount of lowland conifers and hardwoods. So that's kind of hard to see on this map. But throughout the township, upland hardwoods was the largest woodland type by acreage, and you can see that spread throughout the township, and developed forest land, so think residential areas within woodlands. That was a fairly close second. We can skip ahead 2 slides to number 5. Yep. So this is part of that ranking criteria for the natural areas. So some of these are fairly straightforward and intuitive. So total size of the natural area in acres, whether or not there's a stream corridor present in the natural area. There's not very many streams in Long Lake Township, so that's actually a fairly unique feature of some of the natural areas. And then also wetlands, percentage, SOT acreage, and quality of the wetlands in the natural area contributed to those scores. Ron, you can move ahead one more slide. The 2 on this slide that are maybe a little less intuitive or a little less straightforward are landscape connectivity, which basically if a natural area is close, relatively close to other natural areas, it gets a higher score. because it's providing some connection across the landscape. And then size of core area, which is defined as the total area of the natural area minus a 300-foot buffer around the edge. So if you go to the next slide, yeah, this kind of illustrates that. So this kind of shows two examples of, hypothetical natural areas and what their core areas could look like. So on the left-hand side, there's a large, fairly regularly shaped area. The orange kind of represents that 300-foot buffer, and then the green represents what would be the core area. On the right-hand side, there's also fairly large but irregularly shaped natural area. And so there's a lot of buffer and a lot less core area just because of the size, just because of the shape of that natural area. So that's that core area scoring criteria. And I just bring those two up because they're going to be a little bit important later when we talk about some changes that we saw. So next slide, Ron. Just a little bit more of the criteria. Woodlands, so again, percent, size, and quality of the woodlands within the natural area, whether or not there's threatened or endangered species present. So again, a pretty straightforward one. And then parcel fragmentation, you can go to the next slide, just highlights that. So parcel fragmentation is just basically if a natural area has a few larger parcels that make it up, it gets a higher score than if it has many smaller parcels because, as you can imagine, smaller parcels, you're going to have more development in those than if you have one large parcel with, one house going in or something like that. So this map shows the natural areas that Niswander identified in 2006. In red, you have priority 1. So again, those are the highest quality natural areas. In orange, you have priority 2. And then in green, you have priority 3. So obviously, you see the priority 1 natural areas are clustered around Long Lake and also on the west side of the township. Makes sense. It's farther from Traverse City. We have less development out there. But there are some, there were some fairly large priority 2 areas in the northeast part of the township. So moving forward to 2006, GEI was asked to update the NFI. It's been 20 years. Obviously, a lot has changed in that time period. And our main questions are what features are at risk and what features are stable. And, I think that from a planning perspective, the natural areas and what priority natural areas we have left, that was the big focus or the main focus of this update to the inventory. So we first updated the inventory using desktop resources. So you can move ahead to the next slide, Ron. So just looking at aerial imagery from 2003, which is what they used for the initial natural features inventory, and comparing that to this slide shows 2023 imagery, but obviously we've had to update that since because it's been 3 years and we've even in that 3 years seen quite a few changes from 2023. But we had our ArcGIS and image analyst software go through, compare these images throughout the entire township and identify areas where there was perceived change based on the imagery within natural areas. So that's the yellow hashing that you can see on the north end of the 2023 imagery. Ron, you can go ahead and move to the next one. This is just another example. This is the development by Fisher and Thiel roads. The software went through, picked up these areas of change for us to later go out and take a look at. Ron, you can hit the button again. And then, obviously, like I said, things are moving fast. So in just the 3 years, there were obviously a lot of changes. So we were continuously kind of updating, readjusting our desktop resources as we went through this whole process. Next slide. So after we did the desktop analysis, we went out last summer and fall, and we did field site visits. Main focus was confirming potential changes that we saw on the aerial imagery, and also picking up any other changes that may have occurred, that we didn't see on the aerial imagery or that were too recent for the aerial imagery to capture. The scoring of the natural areas also required us to go out, assess the quality of woodlands and wetlands in natural areas, and then we were also asked to characterize forest communities. Go ahead and move to the next slide. So getting into the numbers, and some of these are big and scary. There's some context behind them. Next slide. Yeah, woodlands. A loss or a decrease of 68 acres over 20 years when you were starting out with, over 10,000 acres. That's not a huge change. Ron, if you could move to the next slide. There are some changes under the hood, though. So we did see a fairly large increase in developed forest land. Again, makes sense as some of these neighborhoods are expanding. They're doing a good job of leaving the forest intact and scattering homes, throughout the forest. But so that is where we saw an increase. Ron, can you go back to that last slide really quick? Upland hardwoods are still by far the largest category of woodland within the township, and there wasn't much of a decrease in those. Not much of a decrease to the lowland hardwoods or lowland conifer forest types. Upland conifers saw the largest decrease in acreage, and a lot of that was actually red pine plantations that were developed into housing communities. So not too surprising there. And there's also some areas where forests developed in the past 20 years. Areas that were probably in 2003 on their way to becoming forest, and 20 years later they have matured enough that we've classified them as part of the forest land. Go ahead, next slide. So again, this is the big one, natural areas. Overall, there's been a total loss of 381 acres from the natural areas. There is still over 12,000 acres of classified natural areas within the township. The biggest loss was to Priority 1 natural areas, again, the highest quality. Of course, those areas did have the most to lose, right? That was by far the largest priority area within the township. But you can also see that there were increases to Priority 2 and Priority 3 natural areas. And that's because a lot of that loss of Priority 1 acreage was actually a downgrade to either Priority 2 or Priority 3. And Ron, can you go ahead to the next slide? It's kind of hard to see on the smaller screens. This is our updated map of where the natural areas stand now. Again, with Priority 1 in red, Priority 2 in orange, and Priority 3 in green. I put some yellow boxes around some areas that I just wanted to call attention to. Not to pick on any developments or anything, but just to show, these are examples of how the natural areas can get broken up and reduced in size. So we'll start at the bottom left-hand yellow square that I have on there. That area was mostly Priority 1 prior to a couple developments that went in, and those Those areas, it did require some parts of the natural area to be totally removed. They're not supporting really many ecological benefits anymore. But some of the areas that remained might still be decent quality, but because of cascading effects from fragmentation. So again, if we think back to landscape connectivity and core size that we talked about earlier, the reduction in core size and the reduction in landscape connectivity, just by pulling small pieces out of those natural areas, those can have cascading effects in the surrounding natural areas. Same thing with the box at the northwest end of Long Lake. Pretty similar thing happened there. Those areas were all priority 1 or red prior to some development that occurred, kind of broke it up, and then actually reduced the priority ranking in some of the nearby areas as well. And then the two other boxes that I have highlighted were former priority 2 areas. They were pretty large parcels that have since been cleared and are approaching, getting ready for development. And so those are just some of the areas or some of the ways that we see the natural areas and the priority areas getting removed from the township. We can skip past that map. That just shows changes. So just kind of a highlight or a summary of some of the things I just said. Again, 381 total acres lost from natural areas since 2006. Concentrated in priority 1, but also some losses in priority 2 that were offset by downgrading priority 1 areas. About 600 acres of priority 1 natural areas were downgraded to either priority 2 or priority 3. And like I said before, the biggest threat to the natural areas seems to be fragmentation, breaking up or taking out small pieces from those larger natural areas can have cascading effects. And one of the things that we see is taking these large parcels and splitting them can be a harbinger of a future development. This slide, again, I'm just trying to, in the interest of everybody's time, move a little quickly. One thing that I wanted to point out, there's a lot of large parcels within the natural areas in the township. Since 2006, since the last natural features inventory update, the township and its partners have acquired some of these properties and preserved them and protected them going forward. There's still a lot of large parcels within these natural areas that would be good good targets for conservation or preservation going forward. And as I noted before, we did see several of the large parcels identified by Niswander get developed in that in that 20-year span. So they are vulnerable, particularly, Ron, if you want to move to the next slide. Particularly some of these large parcels that are highlighted in the eastern part of the township, the northeast part of the township. Those would be prime candidates for either development or preservation. Next slide. We'll kind of quickly go through impacts to wetlands. Good news is not much. Only 6 acres lost of wetlands since 2006. Likely largely due to the protections that most wetlands are afforded by the state of Michigan. The Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy regulates wetlands. Most of the wetlands within the township do fall under their jurisdiction, and so as a result, I think that's part of the reason why we're not seeing seeing large decreases in wetland acreage throughout the township. If you could skip to 27, the next one. Sorry. Yep. So really quick, we analyzed the permits that Eagle is giving out in the township since 2006 to kind of see where, where their laws are allowing certain natural features to be impacted. By far, the largest amount of permits issued is for shoreline armoring, so riprap and seawalls. I know this is a concern that has come up in the township before. If you want to move on to the next slide, kind of highlights that. So those permits that were granted by Eagle are responsible for almost 7,000 linear feet, so over a mile of developed shorelines. That does include some replacement of existing structures, existing seawalls and riprap. But most of that footage is, new placement of riprap installation, and then there was, 665 feet of seawalls permitted as part of this, and that also necessitated about 4,000 square feet of bottomland fill to install riprap. We can skip the next few slides and go to number 35. So just kind of to summarize, what we found. Overall, woodlands and natural areas throughout the township remain abundant. Like I said, there's still over 10,000 acres of woodland in the township, nearly 12,000 acres of natural areas, and that's a large percentage of the township. The largest threat that we see to natural areas is fragmentation, like I discussed. And as we all know, development pressure is likely to continue to increase, from Traverse City moving outward. There are still many opportunities, if desired, to protect more acreage of these natural areas and expand open space. Likely prioritizing parcels with intact forests that are representative of or emblematic of Long Lake Township, things like sugar maple beech forests, oak pine forests, or cedar swamp wetlands. And then, of course, lake shorelines are particularly vulnerable to change. As we saw, the regulations that Eagle has in place seems to be reducing impacts to wetlands in the township, but it's not really doing much to protect or to reduce shoreline hardening in the township. If there's anything else, you can move to the next slide, Ron. If there's anything else, that you guys wanted to discuss in detail that maybe I had skipped past, in the interest of time, we can do so. But if not, thank you very much for your time. This was a really enjoyable project to work on, and I also want to give a quick shout out to my colleagues, Carol Callahan and Aaron White, who did a lot of the field work and GIS work. They couldn't be here tonight, but this definitely wouldn't have been possible without their help.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Thanks, Zach.
Okay. This is one of those studies that we said we'd work on and wrapped it up, so thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Back to our agenda. So now we're going to do 3A, which is our, the liquor license. Cody, if you want to come up, and I think you're here too as well.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
I got you. If they have applicant questions, I'll bring you up. Yeah, no problem.
I'm just here.
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, sweet. I didn't that way.
Perfect.
Good with that. The
Perfect. I'll trade you. All right, so just, I know Trustee Sievert, you had a particular question, but just to give you a brief overview for what you guys are looking at, we have an applicant for Weinrich Farms, which is Anniversary Fine Foods off of Secor, if you're familiar, who is looking to get a liquor license from the state. They have future plans of creating kind of a farm-to-table situation at their current farm. And so in the essence of wanting to run concurrently with the liquor license process, but also with the site plan review process from the Planning Commission, they're running both at the same time. So they had submitted to you first, so you guys are the first to see it. The Planning Commission will see a site plan review here in the coming months. And I'm happy to ask any questions that's not been covered in memorandum.
I guess the questions I had, just as I looked through the ordinance that we would follow.
Yeah.
For clarification, the board will make that final decision, or are you going to take it to the Planning Commission, then it will come forward
It
after
will
the Planning
not
Commission?
come back, sorry, for the liquor license decision?
That'll be MLCC, but for us
Yes.
to approve at the township level.
So their site plan review would be handled by the Planning Commission. So far, discussing this with the applicant, all uses that they have communicated to the Planning Department is a permitted use by right, but they do need to go through a site plan review process, and so they will have to conduct that, but that would not come in front of the Township Board.
So the questions I have, just as I look through the application material that's been provided to us, and then I look through the ordinance, there's quite a few things actually still missing in the application, so I guess I'm just making sure that we capture all of that, and we know that we're making decision with the information, all the full information, I guess, as I look at it, if you want me to kind of go through, or if you want to go through.
Sure, I'll do my best to answer, and if not, the applicant,
I can answer any questions.
Thank you, yeah.
Heather Addison, by the way, I'm the sales and distribution manager for Anniversary.
Fantastic.
Adam will be here, but he is out of town. He's been out of town for the last week, so I'm the representative.
Nice to meet you. Question, I guess want to make sure we have everything together in the application. When you go through our ordinance, there should be, as the ordinance says, there shall contain the following statements and information. And some of those things that I find that are missing is some additional information relative to the officers and directors of the organization that should be included, particularly since they have been incorporated. It has some additional things that are required to be brought in relative to ownership and shares and who's all involved. Description of the premises. If I'm looking at this, it looks like it's going to be a trailer. Not our decision. I don't think the MLCC approves trailers. But I'd be curious to have more information about the premises and the structure that's going to be involved, short of what I'm seeing in the drawing. Additional pieces, applicant shall be, I guess here's the piece, the applicant shall be accompanied by building and site plan showing the entire structure and premises, and I guess that's what I'm not seeing any of that in terms of just drawings of where the beverage trailer would sit.
Sure.
Copy of all financial information and documents provided to the Michigan Liquor Control Commission regarding financial responsibility is all required to be a part of this application for us as well. I don't see any of that included. Whether the application shows adequate off-street parking, lighting, refuse disposal, landscape screening, and noise controls, where we've had licenses in other situations where there's going to be, this is a Class C, so it would be outdoors. You know, how is that going to affect neighbors, and do we have a plan in place for that? And I don't see anything in the brief information here that discusses that, which goes into proximity of inconsistent zoning classifications. I know there will be some things changing or look to be changed, but how does that impact those zoning areas that would be adjacent to this? And then whether the licensee plans to expand or intensify a business activity in a zoning district other than the commercial and light industrial zoning districts, and determining whether the license is likely to expand, intensify business activity, the township shall consider such factors as whether the number of patrons will increase, pressure on that area. So some of those, there's a lot of information I feel that's not in the application that it should at least be captured. I'm not saying there's anything here that's a problem. It seems to be missing a lot of information before we would just approve it through as is.
So to speak to some of those, so as far as like the articles of incorporation and the financial documents, the applicant provided the way our liquor license ordinance is set up, there's a 10-question questionnaire that the applicant fills out, and they did provide that to you. They are willing to offer any financial documents upon request. They did not choose to include that in their application, just similar to some of the other applications we received last year. They protect their financial interests in that manner. This is unique from the other ones that we've approved in the last couple of years because the site plan is not finalized. So what I mean by that is they do not have final approval from the Planning Commission to, if you look at their preliminary drawing, which has the hand sketch on it, is what we've been talking through. That is not finalized, that's not approved. They don't have the ability to execute that currently, but we're working through them getting an engineered site plan to go in front of the Planning Commission to review those items. Those things that are listed there, whether or not a liquor license is approved, would still be able to be executed under the current zoning ordinance. So the things they mentioned, the parking, the building or structure for eating under or food sales or covered picnic areas, those are all things that are all permitted uses by right. The location of their precise areas in terms of setbacks and number of parking and gravel versus grass, that's all things that will be ironed out in their site plan review application. To speak towards the intensity of use, I would argue that any business that's going to be adding new products or increasing their storefront will potentially have more foot traffic or vehicle traffic in that area. So I would imagine that their intensity of use would increase. To what degree, I don't know. It depends on how well the business model they have and execute. So that is a valid question. As far as the inconsistent zoning classes, I did include the zoning map for you. Their parcel is located off of Secor. It's currently zoned ag, as you would expect. They are surrounded by a lot of ag-zoned parcels. The things such as outdoor hours of operation or outdoor music or outdoor amplified music has not been adjudicated on, have not been reviewed by the Planning Commission at this time. And like I mentioned previously, the applicant expressed interest because there was one license left in the township. They wanted to try to run both processes concurrently, so we've submitted the preliminary site plan with the best of our understanding currently of what that's going to look like moving forward. So that is the information I have for you tonight.
So I guess conceptually, generally, it seems like, to me, a good plan and a neat thing in terms of what they have generally planned, but since there's a lot of specifics still missing, I guess then I further look down in the ordinance in terms of what our responsibility is, reservation of authority. If an application is incomplete, the license may be denied without consideration of the merits of the application. Right now, I think the merits aren't all there. If we have a little more detail, I think more information, particularly when you get into noise and impact and some of those other things, I think it's important for our township that we're making sure we're looking at it in its entirety rather than just saying, hey, one license, let's go ahead and get it to them and let the rest of the details come. I think let's get the rest of the details and understand what the impact will be and allow those who would be involved, neighbors or whatever that might be, to at least be aware and be a part of the conversation.
I understand what you're saying. The ultimate decision that the township board has tonight is binary. You have the right, or you can table it, obviously, too, or postpone it, the decision, but your choices for this application from the state perspective, when you choose to do so, are either to recommend approval or not recommend approval. The MLCC, the Michigan Liquor Control Commission, ultimately has final say whether or not the applicant gets their liquor license. The item of wanting to know the finalized site plan before making a recommendation is valid. It's still not going to be this board's responsibility to approve that site plan. It's going to be placed on the Planning Commission to do so. Arguably, the Planning Commission may have more information if they know they're getting a liquor license on far as site plan goes, meaning it will inform maybe the arrangement of structures or the arrangement of amplified music if that's desired. It hasn't been discussed to me as an interest yet. So I guess it could go either way as far as whether you put the cart before the horse or whether you put the horse before the cart. So I understand your concerns. I guess my question would be to you, do you think that having a finalized site plan would change whether or not you would recommend to the MLCC on what you would recommend to them, and then if it does, then, if the majority of you agree with that, then what I would recommend to you is not to make a decision on this tonight and wait for them to finish the site plan review process to finalize your recommendation to the MLCC.
I guess, speaking for myself, I kind of like the horse in front of the cart rather than the cart in front of the horse, and so if we could have the information, it could have a bearing. I guess I'd rather have it, and I don't want to say no tonight, but is it more appropriate to table or postpone the decision until we would have the planning commission complete their review? I think that would make the most sense before we approve with a lot of missing information.
Decisions with.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking it really kind of needs to go through the planning commission and have their approvals, and that's really where that would take place as opposed to that being our role here tonight.
I guess the reason why us as a planning department felt comfortable bringing it in front of you is because the uses that have been discussed to us in the initial application that's been presented don't show any uses that are outside of a permitted use. So it's not that they can't have those structures there. They're going to be allowed to have those structures there. It's going to be the arrangement of said structures that is going to be the question, buffering, those types of things. So planning department felt comfortable bringing you this application without the full story because those things are going to be ironed out in the site plan review process. And so understanding it's within your purview to choose either direction, that's just the reason why that application was brought to you with a preliminary site plan instead of an approved one, is regardless of whether or not they're going to sell alcohol on the premises, they can still have the same amount of structures or same location of said structures.
Okay, I guess I would make a motion that we would table or delay, whichever is most appropriate, till we'd have a site plan review, come back with the planning commission, and then
Sure.
make a decision once we have that stuff in front, so the horse is in front of the cart.
So just because I've been called out on it before, tabled means you're going to pick it back up in the same meeting, postponement means you
Postpone for another
Okay,
meeting.
I just want
Thank
to be
you.
clear.
I was kind of looking, yeah, so I would prefer to postpone until I can come back with that
We
information
just
from the
don't do
planning
any
commission.
activity, we just leave it and go on to the next one. Okay.
So I'll make a motion
No.
for postponing.
We don't do any motion, right?
No motion.
You just
Okay.
leave it.
Okay, I'll
Okay.
leave it.
There you go. Okay, we'll go on to number 4.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll go on to Beyond Lucid Technologies. As you're aware of, we approved to accept some SS4A grant for $2.6 million. And some of our concerns were being able to get it all done ourselves. And so we received that quote from Beyond Lucid, which is how we got our grant. And then Mandy is here from Traverse Connect, who shared some stuff with Traverse Connect, as part of our discussion was what can we do locally with that money and do more of the activity local. So Mandy has put this in, I know it come in last minute. So,
Yes.
and she's been working diligently on this through several conversations and trying to bring several people together, like Munson, which is a big one, Blue Flight,
Yep.
Networks Northwest, who does 5-county region for grants for these areas. So I'm gonna let her kind of go through this, because what we have to do is figure out, with Beyond Lucid, we can approve a portion of it, and then work through this, but there's some reporting that's due in September. That's the critical thing, is getting this report done through September for our planning and demonstration, what items are gonna be part of that, so. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. So, again, my name is Mandy Sanjeri. I'm the CFO for Traverse Connect. Just a little bit of history on this type of work with Traverse Connect. We have received 2 grants from the Michigan Department of Transportation to do pilot testing with drones to deliver medical supplies and lab samples. So we've been working with Munson for a couple years on this project with successful pilots, and we continue to move forward with that project. Blue Flight, which is a drone company based out of Brighton, Michigan, they brought the SS4A grant to our attention, because this grant, there's also supplemental grants that you can apply for after this, but you have to have an entity or a government entity that has a safety action plan in place. So, which is why we connected with Ron And so we did apply for a supplemental grant in May. We have not heard back yet, but that grant would be to test using drones to deliver blood to crash sites. So with this grant specifically, the questions, the concerns that Long Lake Township has, and which are completely understandable, in being able to administer a federal grant, is that it's a big undertaking. Traverse Connect has the historical record of doing those things. We have the ability to assist Long Lake Township staff with that, and we have the partnerships in the community. So I have spoken with Munson. Munson has connected with the Michigan Health Information Network, who is an entity that contains all of everyone's records. The local medical authority is aware of this grant as well. He is excited and wants to work with Long Lake Township on this project, and Networks Northwest is a good partner of ours as well. So I have confidence in Traverse Connect's ability to assist Long Lake Township in closing the gap on being able to complete the required deliverables of this grant. Traverse Connect wants to see the funds stay in our community, as I'm sure all of you do. And it's my understanding that the first requirement of the reporting was completed.
Yes,
So the
Sarah
next.
completed that, which was done here in June.
June, just,
End of
it's
June.
quarterly, so it's usually, so I think that was done. The next is September 30th, which you have to have data collected on historical information on crashes and, yes, which Networks Northwest can assist with, and which you have data too. So we have a few months to work on that and to get ready for the next reporting. And Munson is just waiting for me to tell them that, yes, Long Lake Township wants to meet with you, and they already have this software in place that they use today with their EMS. So it would not be, it's not a matter of gaps, it's just a matter of connections that need to be made, so.
And so we've reached out to our Max as our contact with the SS4A grant to see what it would take. So the issue we have is that Beyond Lucid help, that's what they do, is they go get these grants, and then they help put these things together. And I know Todd has spoke to them as well, trying to figure out what to do. The issue is trying to figure out how do we replace an entity within that grant, because we have to have an entity to work with to get those funds, all of them. It is greatly reduced if we don't have somebody with it. And so what's it take to replace Traverse Connect, Networks Northwest, to bring it back locally? And that's what we've been trying to work through to get that. So Sarah has reached out to them. She's waiting for an answer from them. And that just happened last week. So they've been pretty slow with communicating, and I think this grant was approved in '24. Remember, we just got it in '26 to move forward with it. So, so those are things that we're trying to work through. So I want to make sure we have this in front of you, so because there are some timelines we have to hit. And part of it is that we also looked at, if I'm Beyond Lucid here. So, there's some things we have to do with them, and, part of trying to figure out with that is they have this spreadsheet down here. And so these are some things that are trying to come up with to do. We could do part of the budget, all right, whatever, Todd, you can chime in, I know, try and figure that out, or we could say, let's kind of punt, hold a special meeting if we need to later, if we find out if we can change or not change. But that's kind of where we're at. But the concern is how much is going to be on our staff here. But the goal is to get some people out there that can deal with it, instead of us trying to deal with everything. So looking for some input.
I think everybody's aware I was very concerned about this grant when it was brought to us the last time. What brought me peace of mind was that our assistant fire chief, who's no longer with us, was going to act as our owner's rep. And I have nothing but faith in him to do that. This seems like this is really getting out of our township's mission. I just don't see that this is going to end well for us. I don't understand why the township is involved with this. And I'm not seeing the reporting that I was promised we would be getting monthly as this grant moved forward. We're off to a unacceptable start, I would say. There's language in this agreement that's very concerning to me. There's a very damning indemnification clause. I don't know, has our attorney looked at this?
Todd has, he's right here.
The hourly rate that's quoted in here for out-of-scope services, $750 an hour. I don't really understand where we're headed here. This just seems to really be getting out of our lane as far as township governance. I'm not saying that this is a bad concept. And I've been assured this isn't going to cost the township any money. It's clearly going to cost us time. It's costing us time tonight. I can't support this based on what I'm seeing here tonight. It just continues to raise more and more and more questions without answers.
And we should, the office shares your concerns. I think that's our concern as well, is how much, and that's why it's trying to find that right partner to say, part of what we could do is simply just turn it over to Beyond Lucid and, or turn it over to Traverse Connect. And part of what they do is find those savings and those dollars, that in kind. And that's the goal, is that, our cost into that is the difference between that 2.6 and 3 million.
Right, yep.
And so that's where they do, is they go out and they say, okay, we did this ambulance run, we billed, our normal bill should be $1,400, we collected $200. That goes towards that. That's part of what these groups do, is go find that money so that we don't have that coming out of it. Chris did say that potential he could help. He has not said no to that. So, this is very close and near and dear to his heart because it started out over his family's accident. So these are concerns. That's why we're bringing these different options, and where's that? Because we could simply say, Beyond Lucid, you do it all, we're going to walk away and you'll find everything. Or we could say Traverse Connect, and that's kind of the whole thing, so.
Right, yeah. Our goal is to keep the funds here. So this Beyond Lucid, I don't know much about them other than, I just saw this contract today. I pulled it out of your packet, and I had concerns as well from I'm not an attorney, but it looks like basically they're going to get the $2.4 million, and Long Lake Township is left trying to find that $600,000 in-kind dollars. And that's where we want to help and, make sure that Long Lake Township retains some of that funds for your expenses, and also provides a valuable, plan for the community to help, to help everyone that lives here. The drones, the blood delivering, that's going to happen in northern Michigan, whether Long Lake Township continues forward with this grant or not, because we're actively working on that with the locally, state, and federally. So I hope that Long Lake Township moves forward with accepting the grant, and I hope that Traverse Connect has experience with this. That's what we do. We connect, and so, we have a little bit of time. I know September 30th seems like, and it will be here before we know it, but there is time to get a better plan in place. So.
I share much the same concern with Dan. Actually, I think I voted no when this came through the first time, feeling that we were short on staff as it was with the fire department. We've now since lost our top 2 people at the fire department. So I think that's a significant concern. Now, I understand the value of the program. The reasons for it, what it can do for the community if it all works as, the dream and the plan seems to be outlined in there. But then you get into the legal questions and what we might be on the hook for time and money-wise. I like the idea of Traverse Connect, although I'm not real clear, other than what I've heard tonight, which is not a lot of detail of technical capabilities and ability to actually do it, and what does that still come back for us? There's a lot of open questions, but I would say while I voted no the first time for the program, it's now our program, having Traverse Connect, I would be more interested in fact, from the standpoint that they're local and can probably do a better job according, but I don't know what that means to remove the current partner we have, and if the money's going to go to them. There's a lot of questions I think legally we need to sort out before we can make too much of a decision, but I'd be interested in a chance to pursue that direction. Otherwise, I didn't like this to begin with and voted no, and I just as soon it went away. But if there's an opportunity with Traverse Connect and something legally and process-wise and technical abilities come together, then I guess I'd be more interested in pursuing that direction than before we would walk away. And then third would be stay with what we're doing, since I voted no the first time.
So using that as an example, just to vet this contract, I mean, we're going to pay our attorney to go through this. I can't even justify those expenses. I mean, let alone the staff time that's going to be involved with this.
So our attorney has read through this. We have no contract with Beyond Lucid that we have to move forward with. There's nothing been agreed to. The only thing that we have is the money is there, and we just have to figure out what the next steps are and who we do this contract with.
But we're also on the hook for $600,000.
We're not on hook for anything yet.
We had this discussion that we could spend up to $600,000 and that it could be in-kind services. It doesn't necessarily need to be, but I don't have any level of comfort that we even understand that, so.
If I could, just clarify, the $600,000 is in kind from the community, not just from Long Lake Township. So it would include our time, Munson's time, any other partner organization that assists with the grant program.
So do we want to just wait for more information to come in, do a meeting in a couple weeks, and then we can have more time with Traverse Connect?
Yeah.
And put that together?
I would agree with that, yes.
Okay, all right. We'll do the same thing as we did with
Can I ask
previous
a
one.
quick question
Yes.
of Todd?
Yeah.
Todd, you've had a chance to review it. Are there things that we need to be aware of further, just from the legal perspective, that we should be concerned with it in this process or the meeting in 2 weeks that I'm putting you right on the spot with no notice, but is there?
I think Dan's observations are pertinent. I spent about a half an hour on the phone with
Jonathan?
Jonathan Fate, however you pronounce his name, along with another one of their representatives. And this is their contract. This is the contract they have for every grant funding like this. And I hinted around at making changes to it. They were not inclined to do that. Now, I didn't go to them with a threat, either, accept these changes or walking. So at the end of the day, whether or not they would acquiesce into any changes that we want, it's not as clear-cut as I would like to have it. For example, the in-kind contribution from the township, which is intended to be, as has been discussed, contributions made in the way of services provided by the community, not money coming directly out of the township's pocket. That's not real clear from the contract. So there are some things that I would like to see tightened up a little bit in this. I don't know Beyond Lucent. When you talk to them, they seem to have some very strong knowledge about this. They have some very definitive plans that they talk about in terms of being able to capture these in-kind services that will get credited towards the $600,000 contribution, $600,000 contribution from the township. But I've never seen them in action. I can't talk about whether they are or are not capable of doing that. They talk a good show. And whether or not Traverse Connect, again, I'm not overly familiar with what they do. And so I think that, one, you need to find out, can we change horses in the middle of the race? And then secondly, who do you feel more comfortable dealing with? I think is what it probably comes down to.
And who approves the $600,000 in kind? So we say, here you go, here's the list. Who says, yes, that counts, or no, it doesn't?
Well, there's federal government
Yes,
oversight.
yep.
Who's looking at this, and I suspect the answer is that it comes down to the way that it is characterized by the entities submitting it to the government and the documentation and support for that contribution and how the government looks at it.
Yep.
Which
And
is,
we're
The
not,
other thing that I think is important to keep in mind is there's $2,600,000 available to the township. Doesn't mean you have to ask for it all.
sure.
One of the things that I asked Beyond Lucent is how quickly in this process do they get an idea of the activities that are going on in the community? What percentage of that can be applied to this $600,000? And they said within the first 3 months, we have a really good idea of, what we're going to be able to capture in terms of the in-kind contributions. And they said based on the budget of the fire department here in Long Lake Township, they don't see that as being a problem. I've got no way to test the accuracy of that. To a certain extent, you got to take them on faith, if that's what you want to do.
That was my concern also. Is it going to be of value to us? Is it a lot of work for how much capturing? And is it going to be, are we going to benefit? How much are we going to benefit from it? That's what I worry about that.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion, I don't know if this will get any traction, but I'd like to make a motion that the township refuse the Safe Streets for All grant.
okay, we have a motion on the table. Do we have support?
I'll give
Is-
support.
Can I ask a question? So is that grant only for this program? That's what that grant is for? I'm a little bit confused.
Who knows?
Oh.
There's a lot of confusion, Linda, that's why I think
Yeah.
it's time to pull the plug on this little game here and get focused on some township things here.
I do feel like the concept is great. I'm very confused on how it works.
Yes.
And the grant and the 600,000 and the in-kind.
Yep.
All of that language.
It can
Yeah.
be very complicated, and I sometimes feel like the federal government does that on purpose.
Yeah.
And, we have worked a lot with state and federal grants. We have processes in place to track those things. And if you're able to take advantage of these funds, it's great. I mean, it can truly have amazing impacts on your community. So I understand the hesitancy, and there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I respect that. And I would say you have 3 months.
I'd like to
To
bring the
gather more
discussion back to the
information.
board, please, if that's okay.
All right.
So did I hear earlier conversation, we could come back in
We could.
in 2 weeks with more information, Traverse Connect could really, and I guess because I hear from Todd that you've had the conversation with Lucent and we're trying to understand what they can do, and they say, yeah, not a problem, we don't know anything about them. But they've been through the process before. Traverse Connect hasn't been through this specific process.
Not through this specific grant, no.
So I guess if you can come back with some specific,
Was there a second to the motion?
I made a second, yes.
Yeah, so we're having discussion.
Yep, I just didn't know. I didn't hear
Sorry,
that.
it wasn't clear. Dan made a motion, Kevin made a
Okay,
support.
thanks.
So now we're in discussion. The thing is Beyond Lucid and these grants, they go to real small communities because the government feels that they cannot make the decisions on how to best create safe transportation for EMS and fire personnel to get to and from accidents, and how do we reduce that or save those lives? How do we reduce the number of people that are elderly that are on the road going to and from doctors? So that's what they sent it to little communities to do these stuff. And so our study area is Long Lake, Leelanau County, and Benzie County. But the issue is that, yes, they put these in, we study it for 3 years. This is a 3-year time frame. And then when you're all done, you say, hey, we studied it, now let's all apply, what can we take these knowledge, learn, and apply for it? And it potentially is 10 times that much money to get that, to implement those things. And I share the concern. I mean, it is a concern trying to figure out, that's why it's like, okay, we're not going to do this ourselves, we just can't. And what's it take to put it outsource it and have them do that?
So I just am not comfortable moving forward expending township resources, both the manpower and expenses for our attorneys to vet this, to make sure that we're not getting ourselves in trouble. We don't know enough about this, but anyway.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right.
Well, I made the second on that. One other comment, I guess, just so I can articulate my thoughts. I voted no the first time. I'm not comfortable with what we know about this and how we're going to get ourselves involved and what we're going to get back out of it. But if Traverse Connect is going to have an ability to come back within a couple weeks, I would also, at this point, be willing to listen to one more round with a significant amount of money that can help the community, can help us. But I'm that close to just saying we should make this go away. But I've made the second because I want to have this dialogue and conversation. I think just a little bit more time, but that puts a lot of burden on Traverse Connect.
That's okay. And I wasn't here I was on vacation when this came up the first time. But Ron knows I've had concerns right along. A lot of it is not understanding.
Exactly.
But it's the stewardship of the township and the finances is a little worrisome to me when I don't understand.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. We have a motion and a support and discussion is had. Roll call, but all those in favor of not accepting and moving forward, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. So we got three to 4.
Aye.
Well, did you oppose?
No.
Okay, I didn't know where your aye come in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So. 3.
I'm confused.
Me too.
I am too.
So you made a motion to not accept any, to refuse it.
And who voted yes for my motion?
All right.
Can we just do a show of hands, just so I'm clear? So 4 people voted for my motion, so my motion passed, so we are refusing the grant.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. So now we'll go on to the boat wash station at Long Lake Crescent Shores.
Good evening, I'm Dave Baker. I'm representing Long Lake Association. Long Lake Association's a 400-plus member lake association based here in Long Lake Township. And we have a desire to put a boat washing station at our major boat launch, which is the Crescent Shores Road boat launch owned by the township. And we've been busy for the past year or so raising funds to be able to pay for that boat washing station. We're now at the point where we have funds in hand. We've begun to spend a little bit of money in that we've engaged Fleece and Vandenbrink engineers to draw plans for us. And we desire to place the boat washing station on township land. The township controls not just the boat wash, but the parking area there. There's also some wetlands. We considered the wetlands. We think those are problematic for a number of reasons. We've settled on a place within the parking area as the most logical place to place a boat wash. And that place that we're targeting is 450 feet in from Crescent Shores Road at the first cut through the median there. And we would simply widen the curve that already exists to cut through that median strip, and by 19 feet is the amount. So it's a relatively small modification is necessary. Boat washes are simple things. Most of you know you have one here attached to this building. It's simply what would be involved is we would drill a well with an established well driller. We would have that 19 feet of curve paved by an excavator, so it matches up with the slope and the dimensions of the existing pavement there in the parking lot. We would put a small shed, 8 by 8, to contain the pump and, whatever electricals are necessary. We would tap into existing electrical that's on site right nearby at that curve. And at conclusion, we would propose to turn that completed project over to the township. We're a volunteer organization. Our volunteers believe in this very strongly. We today have other invasive species in our lake, Long Lake, and we think that by doing this action, we would benefit the whole of the area by keeping other invasives, and there's many, from entering into the lake. This would be no expense to the township. We would pay for all of this. And then once done, it's township property. We would donate it.
So we created an MOU, contract between the two of us. They took it to their board. They said, why don't we, instead of just having this agreement, why don't we just build it, give it to the township, and go from there? And so we have that there in front of us. So that's what they're asking, instead of having this agreement, that we simply just take ownership of it when they're done, and they would help with some maintenance of it and stuff like that through the year. So we just come up with a smaller agreement and deal with it that way. Todd's sitting here. We've had this conversation already to do that. So the question is that, are we okay with it to move forward and accept it as it is, and accept the boat wash station down there as well?
And our ongoing is pay for the electric?
Our expense is the electric, which we already pay electric down there.
Sure.
Ron, I know you kind of took it on as a pet project, the boat wash station here, and that's gone well. I know my understanding is we haven't had any unintended consequences. Some of the fears we had, people leaving a bunch of trash behind.
No, we haven't had any damage. I think someone took a brush once, but I think they replaced the brush.
Yeah.
So I think that's all that's out there. Someone just pulled out using the boat wash here a minute ago. So it's working. People are using it, but there's really no expense. We just have the same thing. We have electric bill here. It was paid for by Long Lake Foundation, and associated was foundation back then. Now it's all under one roof.
Township.
So that's the same thing here. Okay.
Thank you.
I guess my question is, what's to prevent anybody from coming up there and washing their car? Get a free car wash every day.
Well,
the cameras.
Seriously, yeah.
You see what our cameras are doing, like
Okay.
they finding people.
As long as Sean's around, he can prevent that, right?
I can also suggest, it'll be your property, but what Lake Leelanau Association does, they've built 4. They have a timer on it, so they turn it off at 10 o'clock or something.
Or even a code or something like that only...
Pardon me?
Or even a code.
We do this one. This one shuts off at a certain time. It doesn't come on
And then
until
it's
early.
regulated, so
Yeah, so
after
most
10
of that
o'clock at
kind of
night.
activity would happen presumably at night.
Well,
yeah.
We have really good cameras down there. And
Okay.
I think that, a lot of it's being designed after what Lake Leelanau did on theirs. And theirs are unmanned. Glen Lake, I think, mans theirs periodically. But that's just where it sits. They're down there.
Right.
I've never seen someone pull up with a car and wash it outside
Okay.
here. So, don't say it's not happening, but the cameras are on all the time. It's not something that shows up, so.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this for a long time, and I think this is a great partnership.
Yep, I do too. It's a
We
win-win.
feel that way, too.
Get more people washing their boats. Maybe they would do it when they pull out of the water instead of driving down the road to do it, so I think it sounds great.
So we get a motion to accept Long Lake Association building a boat wash there, and then they would help take care of the maintenance of it as well.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve. Where am I going to get the proper language here?
Just say Long Lake Association building a boat wash and giving it to us.
And to accept the agreement for boat wash station and Crescent Shore boat launch, as stated at the title of the agreement.
Okay, I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Kevin, second by Linda. Any
Whatever
further
it's called.
discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion passes. All right.
Great job.
Thank you, Dave. All right, next on the agenda is Twin Lakes Park and Brace Kern demand letter. And then Maxim notice and status, those are both the same thing for both possible closed session. Our attorney has drafted a letter, is what we should do, and he's also drafted a motion to go into closed session for both cases at the same time.
I'll move that we go into closed session to discuss the two matters with legal counsel. The first matter is the threatening litigation in Grand Traverse County over the transfer of Twin Lakes Camp from the county to the township. The township has received a written legal opinion from its attorney regarding the threatened lawsuit, and it's entitled to go to closed session to discuss that written legal opinion pursuant to Michigan law, as the number would, I guess, 15.268. The second is the pending litigation between the township and Todd and Heather Maxon over alleged zoning violation. The township is entitled to go into closed session to discuss trial or settlement strategy regarding pending litigation with legal counsel pursuant, again, to Michigan compiled law 15.268. I further move that we invite legal counsel Todd Miller, Brad Weirda, if I've got that pronounced correct, Peter Warden to join us in closed session to discuss these matters.
We have motion, support by Kendra. Roll call, please.
Wagner?
Yes.
Boldurak? Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
Siebert?
Yes.
Wheelock? Yes. Schaub?
Yes.
Levengold?
Yes. Each on level.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, hi.
If you need to say it's not going to be immediate.
They went to one side, you know, and they're like, they will reluctantly keep doing it short term, but they need to be with us. So we closed down the whole control building.
Yeah, it's my understanding that
they wouldn't protect the state with it when we have a animals, so. Short term at time, other people were willing to pick up the slack.
Never impressed with our county. Gave the animal control. Riding rights. This is back up. We had a little shop. Daughter and taken over. Friends on the other side of 72. All over. And something spooked her. And she took off. So we spent hours going up 72 Church Road, all this looking for her. And lo and behold, we called in and let them know that
has there been any more
Chelsea was listening, just had a haircut.
how that happened? What has to happen?
And had her tags, had the license and baby shots.
Yes, yes, I remember.
And lo and behold, my sister by chance went up there one day. This is about.
I'll make sure that it gets there. Yeah.
Okay. So she called me and I was Rodney was didn't have a collar No. So you had to take time to call me. So what were you gonna do with this stuff? I said, sure, and she was smart. You know, because she came across 72, and just before you go down Cedar Run Road, before you go to the street, right, a couple of houses, it's a lady found there. She was at her yard. She put her in the garage. She called in the patrol. They came out and picked her up. And, you know, it was just, and I thought to myself, why do we have animals? He didn't ask me. He retired. He was with the sheriff's department. They finally retired. They opened the bar up.
They were able to do that with the insurance. Okay, yes, okay. So, David. Oh, it's perfect. Yeah, exactly.
I was glad to see these sidewalk ones. The one that they had down on Keystone. Green Ash. They used to buy firewood out of golf course. And they store it up in the field in the house. And then one day I go up there, she has a mother with 4 kids.
Also, and but what he used to do, or what
she came out down below on the ground. There's a space one.
And so I called the prosecutor's office, and the prosecutor said, so when I told David, listen, that's not really wrong. Exactly. So he's has been.
We got 3 of the kids.
Years I'm conspiring against it.
Mom took one of them.
So we had a decent relationship, and
She picked up the one that was back underneath. I took them up. The next morning, she came out with the other one. I put food out there for her. And then she was eating away. I was able to grab the kitty, both of them. And my wife kind of had a change of heart. She said, well, why don't we keep these 2? And I said, well, yeah, but we don't know how old the mother is or anything like that. Let me go back and see if
yeah,
get one of the other kids. So he'd have somebody to play with. And they were going to be outdoor cats. And lo and behold, they were already within a day. I looked at the guys and said, I never liked working very much, and I like you less. He just, well, you don't have to do work. Well, you're good, you're a good substitute.
yeah, but still.
Is he working?
Has Joe ever come back?
No, he's doing projects, and he loves the projects. He just loves them. He cannot be doing them. So, he got it in his head,
But most of the time that's fire. So unless you got I don't want anything. Yes, yep.
But otherwise, everything's just slowing up. Yeah. Well, I like water place down there.
You got all around you on your property.
About what?
Recreation.
She wants to work on my tree. Yeah. January to
Well, she's still in my
Once you think that, okay, there might be a way that children again, I know I've said it before, I feel, I mean, if I live next door. But we would very much like to it's just, our hands so tight with the old so accessory dwelling units, so that we can. I learned that, I never did that. I assumed that our kids living here, but I never again want to have to live in. No. It's just, and there's no easy. And then, I thought that you don't take, you don't, she might be your. Turns out, hey, they can set up any which is insane. It makes you wonder why I if I could just get a payment plan like that. Like,
We rented an upstairs apartment over on 11th Street. And lo and behold, one day they got a notice to sell the house and we had to go.
Some into the church.
First thing they do is look for a place. Really call it a place over on Long Lake.
That's the other problem that I had. Okay. I know I got my sounds good.
Whereabouts is it?
But you also have and you got the people at the front of the city that are not affected by the cure.
Billy and Ron Jones, the school teacher.
That's so nice. I had a
Him and a couple of others at this store. He met us there.
Yeah.
You couldn't have been there through a freaking winter. Crazy. I mean, it wasn't insulated properly and all this kind of stuff. And I said, Ron, what are they gonna do for heat and what? Oh, we just cut down this poplar tree.
You know what?
I said, that's not a poplar tree. That's a gopher. And that's after it dry. Tell everybody.
Okay, maybe I talked about
You cut it and split it and let it dry for a year before you can burn it. All you're gonna do is get water coming out of it.
Right.
From.
Same thing with like, when they were flying out.
So they lived with us for a year and a half. Because when our kids were little, in our house, we fixed 2 bedrooms downstairs. Our family, we put a family in and had somebody come in and do the carpet, because I wasn't good on carpet. And that was a chore too. Get financing for that. Because mom and dad's old house.
That's good to know.
Dad died before it was done. Mom didn't want to stay there. So, older brother didn't want it. Younger brother didn't want it. Sister didn't want it. So, I was number 4th in line. So, we decided to see if we could buy it. Went to the farmer's home. They had a list of things. This is where you're gonna have to have.
Well, I know.
I said, well, there's 2 upstairs now. Would you have an exit for that? I said, yeah, the stairway comes upstairs. No, you gotta have an exit for that bedroom. And he said, well, yeah, they won't pay for that. And back then there was Northern Savings and Loan. They had a branch up in Hancock. But there was a guy down in the old cherry growers building, had an office, Wayne Warner. And my real estate guy told me to go see him. And he got me the money to buy it from my mom. But then we bought a trailer for her from Pine Grove, set it, that's back before. We put it in the back, and ran a water line to her place, and her sewer line to my septic tank. She lived there for 3 or 4 years. Can't do things like that anymore.
That's a
But we had a unique situation because we technically don't have a road frontage. The road cuts around this way and then like our property comes up this way. And so they're like, well, if we split the property ever and sold it, we would have to, I don't know, jump through a bunch of issues. But we would have to run the new driveway up for our old driveway. But then it's too close to the building to actually be an additional driveway. To move our garage, and then it would be like too close to the other business.
Well, I'm sorry that you dragged yourself on.
So what we do is we split the property, 5 acres forward, 5 acres back.
Yeah, that was great.
When they did the subdivision.
Yeah. And the last thing we I know the chicken.
This much space between our property and the building. It's owned by the homeowners association who has this. And they're like, no.
But yes.
See, when it was put there, it was landlocked. Well, we just don't want any more cars going through the subdivision. I'm like, you're aware that our property existed a long time ago, subdivision was here, right? And then you guys came in, you had teenagers come and set our woods on fire once. And so your kids are running their dirt bikes for our property and whatever, and we won't let you do this. Really? So we're like, I think they capitalize on that agriculture, they put a pig barn back there. Or maybe a guinea farm, I don't know. Those things are loud. I know that.
It's the Marv Strickland, or Marv Clark. He's trying to get I don't know if you permission. Did I ever tell you weddings and stuff? Just around the bend there. And I had to fill out what he's got a lot of extra land behind, I told him, we left the meeting, they said, Marv, if we can't get it, these people on the subdivision right next to you, don't want it.
Claims that he had no
reason to mistake about having it online,
and then people would pay him money to have him teach them how to
put in a few pigs.
And this is what he's proud of. And it's like, buddy, you're proud of just mowing the grass or picking up some guys. It's like your name. Yeah. Right. Your I didn't know how many times I've explained to you. But it's ridiculous. None of it. It's literally I don't know. Nobody knows him.
That's why they moved down here. Town wasn't any desirable. Then a few years ago, Scott Morris.
Preschoolers and like ducks and
Bought land off Skyler Road. Part of the back of my house.
I don't want her.
4.5 acres. Protect me.
That's
Did he want it?
And it's not a safety.
He didn't.
Just the house
On the other
connectors.
side, where it's up in-
Let alone, yeah, it's disgusting.
So, I mean, they were.
He does good work, I just don't agree with this motive about necessarily. I wouldn't.
I know the teachers.
That's right.
Like, if this was,
Yeah. That's where.
In the olden days, when they first came out with wood foundations. The representatives, yes, plywood, at a seminar down, right at that time, right there. Had a yard in Cadillac, a big red, Tom's Lake, Traverse City, they had this meeting down. Bud Shane used here for the plywood people. He explained, about wood foundations and how they're built. Sand and soil, they're good. Clay soil, they're not. They're gonna pressure against it.
this house,
But anyhow,
and the next
in
one,
Orly Norris,
there is no way to let this sell.
they had a question.
Unless if you stripped it down.
He said, "Are these things water or fireproof?" And I raised my hand, was the bill?
But other than that, and I've had
Want to
this
answer that?
conversation.
I said, well, it should be explained. Orly is a member of the Long Lake Volunteers, they haven't lost a faith. He came out to our office the next day. We were out in Williamsburg area. Phil, that was, that hurt. I said, Orly, you can't laugh and stuff like that.
Yeah, that could be. That's a good point.
Those were the good old days.
That's actually been a lot more in the house. When you don't turn
Yeah.
around. Awful lot. Because I've done this one for really a lot of years.
A little buffer. Yeah.
Before I knew my husband. So I went in their house once. And it's like out of a fairy tale, like big stone steps, stone fireplaces, staircase.
Okay, and what was that like?
Floor to ceiling, floor to ceiling on the bottom, on the top here. And I guess it's some kind of.
Where'd he build?
It's loan.
Oh, Ralston. Oh, yeah, in that subdivision.
Yeah, it's very,
Because at one time,
South Terrace, right?
yeah, you, instead of making the curve, you go straight back. And I thought he had a house back there.
Yeah.
Oh,
2020 or 2021, one of the other. Okay.
Gigantic stone,
Yeah. So why?
so he's a good builder.
Right.
Well, he's always got a house he's ready to own. They're not cheap houses. Of course, nobody's cheap anymore.
No, we bought our house for, I'm gonna say $79,000. Back in 19. And, we just got air conditioners,
Right, it's so weird to get like even if you can, you can't.
I live in a house, but
It would be more logical. Right up. Like, okay, they, something new, they're all meant.
countertops.
Oh,
From the 70s. I like it. And I just painted my walls orange,
Chili?
Yeah. Although, the butterflies and mushrooms
Listen, I am a neighbor, right, I am a neighbor, these are what's happening. There's no talking sense. Is there anything that you can do? This is over 2 years. It doesn't, it can't hurt. If you say fuck off, then fuck off. But it can't hurt.
How long have you worked for the city?
Oh, gosh. Maybe like.
He was zoning.
Yeah, he started out partial enforcement.
Oh, did he?
And then he went to zoning. And, ordinance enforcement.
Okay.
And then he was here a long way. Here for a while. And then he went to part-time because they wanted to make it a full-time.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that.
Retired.
Yeah, I don't know. And there was another, last name is Shufra. His last name is Shufra. I don't recall his first name, but he called about I was thinking that it was something process and I invited him to come here as well, but I don't know. So that's another person who's
That's right. What time did the meeting start? 9?
9. They used to start at 8, and like 9 or 1.
Yeah. 8's football.
Oh, yeah.
I have a hard time getting up at 8.
I think about all those years we got up super early, you know.
I used to go to work at 5:30 in the morning. Didn't have to be there until 8. You get there and get stuff situated so the guys come in and start working together.
One of them,
Ready for it.
I mean, honestly, that might cost you less than a lunch or the HOA stuff. The whole neighborhood.
Lloyd worked full-time.
That'd be a bad option. Tear it down, make it a community park. One of them every night. So that'd be nice. So good seeing you. Sorry to drag you.
You're on.
All right, see you later.
Oh, there was one time that he got. Hi, Connie, how are you? Good, how about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, hanging in there.
Yeah. Good work, fire, yep.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I gave the health department another call today, so we'll see. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. All right, we'll take care of honey. Good to see you.
There's one time he, I'm like fooling around with the kids at 10 o'clock in the morning. I hear a car door slam, and I see him coming up the walk. And I'm like, what are you doing home? He said, well, my truck is backwards down a ditch on Supply Road. Yeah, so it got to where, like during the winter storms, he would stay there. There's going to be a heavy snow. He would stay overnight in his office and live in his house, so. I didn't blame him. And again, I could get away from giving the kids chicken nuggets instead of making a whole big meal. Days.
How many kids do you have?
Well, we have R2, I have a son who's going to turn 36, I think, daughter would have been 40 this year. Passed away. Yep. She was 17 at the time. So, then we had, my husband had 2 daughters with 3 years.
Pick up 6?
Yeah. It's gonna go this late, they might as well cater it, you know? My goodness.
Well, the house is complete now?
Yeah.
The porch is done?
Well, we're in the process of wrapping in the secret. I've been staying.
Your wife didn't approve of the first thing.
Did not. No, she did not. And I already had painted 2 of them, so still gotta sand those down. But, no, I'm in the process of staying interested. And I would assume it won't take us long. And then hopefully we can get this up. I want to do a detached garage. I want to do a foundation or something. Oh, but we got to backfill a little bit. So as long as I can do that, we should be in good shape. Get the garage up next year.
As I understand it, not too long ago, you were paying the roads for taxes, and now you want to put another building on it?
It's going to cost us an additional $300 to $400 a year.
No kidding.
Yeah. You want to know how much my summer tax was? $6,170. Like hard tax. Yeah. We're very blessed to live in a very nice home.
Yeah.
But, you know, if it wasn't for Stu, we want to live in that home because we did it ourselves. So, but obviously your income does not factor in. It's home value alone. It really sucks because the neighbor across the street's a physical therapist, the other one's a doctor. It's like these people can afford their taxes.
Oh, well.
Oh, well, lucky.
Big 2 was in the limit.
You got to think, it's quite a great thing. Like Beta and the Traverse City Library, which is like a homeless daycare. Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some kind of hope today. Oh, she's going to be before the commission tomorrow. Julie Clark. For the tart trails. We want to have some kind of building.
Okay, 1.3 mil.
0.3 mil?
Yep.
And the city wants to add a 2% fee onto hotel lodging for more money because it's costing them more to have cops and infrastructure repairs.
They already raised the parking rate.
Did they?
Yeah.
I very seldom go downtown anymore.
Yeah, your what?
You know, it's probably not going to stop the visitors.
No,
from going
no.
downtown
two guys in the parking lot next to the truck shop, so in the parking lot of the library. Like, there's kids. Like, it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
You know, it used to, gosh, it's about even 20 years ago. I knew somebody who would do, the police actually took them out of town. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah.
Somewhere else.
The bus tickets, the sheriff's department. Yeah, they used to pool money to buy Greyhound tickets and ship everybody out.
We got this cousin, Audrey Carmine, district. He was sitting about 4 miles past some chunk of so I'll keep on going south. Don't come back. You know, they would put them in
Now you can't do anything like that, especially with these cameras. You can't do anything. It's creating a very black and white job. There's pros and cons. There's a lot of times that I'm very thankful for the camera, but there's other times where it's like, my hands are tied for everything. Right. There's no such thing as discretion anymore. When I worked I did Garfield for 5 years, and there was one day where all the homeless kids were renting a ton of brand new home tents. If you didn't have, they didn't have room at the inn, you got a brand new tent. A bunch of their fire members. And that day I took a call for something. Somebody tried to honest over here. I'm talking to Lane, who was the owner at the time. And it was just a homeless person after homeless person trying to sell or pawn a tent at that morning. And it's like, this is crazy. It was very eye-opening. Very eye-opening.
this is the way of life.
Yeah. A good friend of mine works in housing, and you know how J&M has a project too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They have all these
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
amazing coolers
everywhere, yes.
and Costco donations.
Yeah.
This person, we have to send people in there every now and then to clean all that stuff because people just put out everything, hoard it in their.
That might be smart.
A lot of it goes to waste. It's turn rot and the neighbors start complaining.
That's crazy. And the name is in the title, Project Feed the Kids, not just feed everybody that's walking by the school. You know, it's unfortunate because there are people, unfortunately it's a select few. There are people that are homeless and it's not their choosing. And they're in horrible situations. But there's others that just, yeah, it's just bad. But as you mentioned all the time, it all comes down like 80% of the time to mental. And if mental health was something really, we wouldn't have a tax problem, we wouldn't have drug addiction problems, we wouldn't have mass acts of violence. All of them, how would we be gone?
And I grew up in like the 70s, when, gosh, my parents didn't know where I was for like 3 years. We could wander. Like you go down the road to your friend's house and there's no education or movable spaces.
Yeah, right.
Like we can't do that anymore. We don't have. Anyway.
So like simple things like don't have to pronounce.
Bunch of entitled people and we're letting them be that way.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Well, I'll give you all the credit in the world for doing this local political game because I don't think I would have the patience for it. It's, I give you a lot of credit. A lot of credit.
Yeah. 2 ice cubes.
better days are when you go home and you feel like you did something.
You know, you should probably see the worst of the worst on their worst day.
Yeah. I'm blessed to be in Long Lake, though.
Yeah.
Truly. I got burned out in Garfield 2 months for it. And then I made the bad decision to go to Peninsula because I would rather be in Garfield than deal with this. That's a whole other world up there. Those people up there, oh man, they warned me too, but I didn't believe it. It was all true. But Long Lake's perfect.
Yeah.
Long Lake.
Yeah, and it was really funny how we wound up in Long Lake, because we wanted to be on the east side, because, like I said, my husband worked at Camp Whalen, and I know that it was a long trip. It was a long trip. But, we had seen 2 houses we didn't like, and then this guy goes, hey, this just came off the printer. You know, he hasn't cleaned up, you know, just went on the market today. It might not be much more to see it.
Is that the same one on Marty?
Yeah.
Same one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was 93. No, it was 94, thank you. Very much. And we walked in, and they're like, oh, there's no neighbors around, and look at all the trees.
Right.
And my husband's like, yeah, buddy, we're home. You know.
But isn't it strange how times change? Because now, back in 94, that was so far out of town.
Yeah.
And now it's a stone's throw from town. Like, I remember when the high school was being built, and my dad was saying to my mom, why would they build a high school in the middle of nowhere? It doesn't make any sense. It's not close to anything. And now it's like, you know, in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Well, the new high school that I went to was built on the campus instead of one big building. That created a lot of stir too.
Yeah?
Because you had to go, I mean, you had your sophomore and junior and senior wings. Still, if you had a class in a different building, you had to go, you know, outside. And, you know,
Be a little bit of a problem.
didn't have wood shop there. Quit wood shop. We had it when I was at Central. In the 8th amendment. Then when I went out to the senior high in 11th, they didn't have their wood shop. But they had auto shop.
You do that?
So I took auto shop. Guess what? I got here east.
Nice.
Because they marked on a class after me. We had these kids with, you know, the pants were halfway down their butt. They had a VA haircut, you know. They were guys like that made me look good.
Oh, I'm sure.
Especially when it came to a test.
When I was a senior, I went to West. It's probably 3 weeks till graduation. And this lady approaches me in the hall. I've never seen her before. She goes, "Are you Sean?" Yeah. She goes, "Hi, I'm Miss Peoples. I'm your art teacher." And I said, "Oh, nice to meet you." She's like, "You ever showed up to class?" I was like, "Right. Well, I'm about to graduate. I don't really need that credit." She's like, "Actually, you do. I checked your records, and you need this to graduate." And I was like, "I must have misread all of it." Luckily, she was super cool. She's like, "Just draw me a picture."
Yeah, I know her.
She's great. Oh my gosh, she was fantastic.
All right, when did you graduate?
12.
Okay. My son graduated in 09. And she was the reason he graduated from high school.
See? Same thing. If you run into her, tell her that I'm still grateful to this day. Because she said, "Draw me a picture," and she gave me a name, and I never saw her again. And look at me now. Just living the dream. Yes, exactly. Who'd have known? If I would have stuck to that class, maybe I would have.
Well, have you drawn any chalk outlines lately?
Not lately.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
All right.
The least, I don't go in that road at all. You know, our place.
So it was good.
Well, it only took me a year and a half to start sleeping.
Oh, did it?
But after the year and a half, I am proud to announce that he now sleeps good. But boy, no, he was a horrible sleep. I mean, it was, you know, early on you're expecting it, and it was like every hour, every other hour. But then at the 1 year mark, it's like, is this kid ever? It's just because he always napped great. But at night it was a different. But now he's sleeping. What if they just all left? How long? I'd be so mad.
I wanted to show you something.
Until we realize that there's no.
I want to show you something. You gotta look real close at it. Yeah. The problem is that we have to go past that big entrance, and they want to. See, sitting back here just doing this, right? And that bracelet saves them to go hardly ever. So they go anyway. Shall it come together from now on? From here out, you don't want to just.
So Stu and Annette, might take a trip out west.
So then they're kind of in front of you.
Well,
When you all
Stu's never been out west,
go.
and so he told me that he was
Part
there
of the picture of me wearing it like this, that's the base.
Mount Rushmore, and Yellowstone and Grand Canyon. And I said, you're looking at a long trip, buddy. And he said, you don't think we can do it in like 5 days?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no. No, maybe if you get to Yellowstone in 5 days, maybe. But good luck. I don't think you realize the scale that we were talking. Because then I mapped it out for him, and I said, you went from Traverse City to Mount Rushmore, to Yellowstone, to the Grand Canyon and back. You're talking like 70 hours of just driving. That seems like a lot.
Back in the old days when we went to Red Mill, we would go to the shop on the base from walls and stuff and do stuff. I was lucky enough to go to South Dakota to see a plant that had some machinery on it. They thought they were doing and we got to see Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Which was cool.
It is cool.
Because I saw the movie that, what's the movie?
The Mount Rushmore movie?
There's a movie that takes place at Mount
No, I did not know.
It's a mystery.
Oh.
I can't think of who
Good to
the
know.
stars were. No, that was me.
It is very cool. Now,
Jeff and Julie, they just got back.
oh, did they?
Yeah,
No,
a couple weeks ago.
Now, the problem is, I went to Yellowstone on a family trip when I was 7.
Oh.
So I remember nothing, nor was I probably excited for anything. But I really, really liked it.
The best thing about Yellowstone was on the news the other day.
What was it? Oh, the guy that got hit? Ouch.
They tell, I mean, Jeff and Julie.
You see how he parked by that strong?
Yeah.
That's a long way.
But they say that game wardens or the wardens are there, they don't tell me the street. In fact, so many, but Buffalo supposedly was in an area where it was warm. No, still.
Yeah, you kind of want to leave that wildlife alone. I'm not ballsy enough.
That's the reason why they call wild.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
Right next door. Yeah. It's like an Airbnb.
No thanks. One thing that's really cool that I did do a few years ago, I took a trip to Vegas and we spent the whole day over there.
Oh.
And that was amazing. Absolutely. The scale was just unbelievable.
Years ago, they let you in.
Uh-huh.
there.
Yeah.
Now they quit doing that, going too far.
Yeah, we just went down to like,
So many feet before you could go down a lot farther, but now since, 9/11.
yeah, they changed
They
it.
quit jumping.
Yeah,
It's a still amazing thing though.
It's amazing.
Is there water way down yet too?
It was a few years ago, it wasn't too bad.
Was it?
I don't, but the guys were saying, like, it just goes on. 1 year, it'll be so low and everyone will.
Just like Long Lake,
Yeah, exactly.
it's high right now.
Yeah, and then they'll say, they have a huge melt that winter from the Rockies, and I mean, it's like, it's just clear. And people, I think, look into it a little too much. I mean, also, what do you expect to rebuild the city right next to?
Yeah, right,
in the middle of the desert, and
Yeah.
it's sucking up water?
Yeah.
Like, that water's gotta go somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. Right.
Well, the heat advisory is supposed to quit at 8 o'clock, and then tomorrow will be bad air
Oh, bad air quality?
because the fires up again.
Oh, they got fires up there again?
Always fires again,
It
man.
was a few years ago.
I know.
Remember you could, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
You look out your window, you could see the stuff down here.
It's always then, man. Figure it out.
I told my wife, I said, they had fires there a few years ago, what's left to burn?
Right. My God.
But I think doesn't that, our fire gets in that smoke, underneath the ground and just smolders.
Yeah.
I mean, that, all that moss and everything else that gets underground, it just smolders,
And the wind carries
Yeah.
everything.
Who was the fireman sitting next to me?
That's Matt Durant.
He's a medic?
Yep. He's a paramedic. Yeah, he's been a paramedic forever. He did Benzie for quite a few years, and then he was in Blair for quite a few years. And then when Long Lake started on their own, he came back. But he's been a paramedic for 30 years. He's Canadian.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. He was born and raised in.
Well, I wasn't raised, I was born in September, came here in December.
Wow.
I didn't even get a chance to vote. But I,
You got a chance to the snow?
Huh?
You got a chance to the snow?
No.
I didn't know that about you.
I don't know, Trump and I might get it back.
It's true.
True. State.
You never know. Where were you born in?
Place called Gulf.
Oh,
Just down by Detroit. There's London.
uh-huh, yeah.
Oh, London, yeah.
Not too far from London.
That's where Durant's from, is London.
London, Ontario.
Yeah, London, Ontario.
My wife was up there now. And I go see my kids in Boston, so I go through Canada.
Yeah.
And you go right by London.
Yeah.
Right down to Buffalo, Niagara Falls.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, we've done that trip a few times. I got our uncle that lives out in Ohio.
Yeah.
So
We
much
used
faster.
to- Yeah, well, during the pandemic, we get to go around.
Oh, yeah.
It cost me 2 or 3 hours, so that, now I can go across it.
One time we got stuck in Niagara trying to get back in. It took us longer to get in than it would have just been driving around.
Well, last year I went out there, and I was a little far going. And, I mean, I went bang, bang, and I went got to Buffalo. Nobody was in front of me, and coming back was the same way. I couldn't believe there was no crossing nothing. Yeah, because usually, you just stay in line, I just stay sitting line. It was unbelievable. Oh, yeah.
I mean, I just saw a picture of it. He does show the hair very well.
I might have a warrant in Buffalo or Niagara Falls.
Uh-oh.
I went with some buddies when we turned 19, right? Because that's a drinking age. And we were like almost out of money as a group, and we stopped at this diner, and it was all you can eat for $10.99.
Okay.
We didn't realize that they charged you like $20 for drinks.
Drinks, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So we're chowing down.
Exchange rate.
And we're all like opening our pockets, we got nothing. My buddy Austin's like, guys, I found some extra money, I'll take it. You guys can just go to the car. We're like, Okay, whatever else. We get in the car, he runs out, go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And we're like, boy, I don't know if I can come back. Oh, boy. Maybe. Well, I am going up to Canada to go fishing with my dad next month. So if they can let me through, then I know I'm.
Where are you going at?
I have no clue. I'm going to be honest. We were going to go to a lake that we used to go to a lot in Godwin, which is you pass through Wawa and then you go to a town called Northane, and then you fly out of Northane. But we used to go there all the time because my dad, as a kid, their family had a cabin up there. And then those damn Canadians took them. They had a 99-year lease and the Canadians canceled it after 7 years. So we used to go there all the time. They were full. So then my dad found this new place, which is a drive-in. But I have no idea where it is.
We used to go to Stratford Wawa, and go east, probably about 120 miles of Little Lake. Little Lake, we went to 27.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, I think.
Yeah, that's what we go for. Yeah, so the cabin is still there. It collapsed on itself. But the funny story is that when my dad was a kid, his dad, my grandpa, was World War II veteran, the same way my uncle, my great uncle. They pull up to the border and the border guard is asking, this is in the late 60s or something. Any alcohol? No. Any drugs? No. Any firearms? No. Send them on the way. My Uncle Bud whips out his World War II 1911 and he goes, do you think this counts as firearms? And so my grandpa's like, you are going to bury that as a can't until we figure out how to get it back. So they welded it, they wrapped it in plastic, welded it in a box, and buried it. Next year they got where they buried it. So somewhere up there is a World War II 1911 buried in the dirt.
There was no beer involved.
I'm sure there was a little bit to have that bad of memory. My dad owned a bunch of restaurants. Yeah, so his big one, so my grandpa owned a restaurant group called the Harvest Table. They had, at one time, 40 restaurants in the States, including one in Traverse. Exactly, Spain. Yep. So my dad took over one of the restaurants down in Detroit. From Metro Detroit. He took one over in Detroit. And his dishwasher got stabbed in the parking lot for $20. And so my dad said, I'm getting out of the city. And my grandpa said, fine, you can run the one in Traverse City, so we ran that one. And then his big restaurant was called Pepper's Grill in the 90s, where the TVA building is now across from Holiday Inn on Front Street. So we had Pepper's, and then he started opening restaurants and then selling business. And one that he started was called Hard Luck Cafe, Happy Hog Cafe. So yeah, just a restaurant guy. My dad said you can do anything you want to do in life as long as you don't work in a restaurant. All right, sounds good, Dad.
No business.
Yeah, brutal.
Or get help.
Well, yeah, I mean, he says now in less than 80s and 90s where there's not right, and there's not a single food review that can just destroy it. Let alone COVID pulling it down. So, but he would go to the restaurant at 8 a.m. and then he'd be home at 2 a.m. and like that for the first 10 years.
Place that used to be a garden, mold into it. And I didn't throw anything for like 3 years running up.
Thank you. She raised 3 kids, basically alone. And I learned the other day that my little sister and I are 10 years apart.
Okay.
I learned that my dad changed his first diaper when my little sister was born, so I get to get water. My God. You made my mother do everything.
Because
Oh, yeah.
Sure. I needed it. We going through this so bad.
What's your dad do? What did your dad do? No kidding. That's where the career tech center is now, right? Yeah, I heard that.
This,
I
right
just
here,
learned that
is what we got in
recently.
our
They made
from
the human
about
rate
May
in Vietnam.
until about September, like every day. Every day. We never seen, yeah. We had two weeks
What was
and
that?
our house was not air conditioned. We lived halfway down a dirt road, fields all around us, and, we, 2 weeks was at 100 degrees. 98 low at night would be 85. And I remember just asleep. We go get in the bathtub and get wet, and then that first bed and wet hair and everything, or the sand.
You were in the cold, right?
45 years.
Nope. You were Red Elbow? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My uncle.
Oh, yeah?
The Uncle Red.
Yeah.
Did you have a whiskey bottle in the back pocket?
Well, some did at that time, that years ago.
It was a different time.
Yeah, different time, yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with heavy machinery, you might want to be intoxicated.
Yeah, it is. It was quite a place.
Oh, look at that. How about that?
Yeah?
Oh, right. Yeah.
That would make sense if it was in the 70s. That if the huge flakes were made.
But we're not complaining.
Then that would make sense. And he goes
I'm
down
just guessing because I remember. I know about that. I can't remember I did yet.
Listen.
Good plan.
All right, get a motion to come back into closed session, from closed session?
You made the motion?
I made a motion.
Okay.
I made a motion. How about
I'll
that?
make a motion to come out of closed session.
All right, a motion by Dwayne and support by Linda. Come out of closed session. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Olmert? Yes. Robinson?
Yes.
Seaver?
Yes.
Wheelock? Yes. Shaw?
Yes.
Wagner?
Yes.
Montour?
Yes. All right.
Okay, I guess I'll begin after closed session, having met with our council. We believe we are within our rights to own Twin Lakes Park. A federal judge has previously ruled in our favor on that issue. We do believe we are being good stewards of the park. We intend to continue our stewardship of the park with no intention of selling or otherwise giving the park back to the county or any other entity. Our intention is to operate the park into perpetuity and open to all township, all county, all residents, all visitors of any sort. And finally, we've heard tonight from the heirs of Judge Gilbert, and they have stated that they believe the township should own and operate the park, and that in fact we are operating it consistent and in a manner consistent with what Judge Gilbert originally wanted.
Right. Maxim notice. We received from, to do a show cause, not show cause, did I say it right? Todd? Gotta get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would make a motion to authorize Todd, our attorney, to dismiss the case without prejudice against Todd Maxim and Heather Maxim.
I'll second.
A motion by Dwayne, support by Kevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, public comment. Same rules apply as the first one. All right, hearing none, and no budget status report. Any Board of Trustee comments? All right, I have a couple. To state, Gilbert Park, we applied for a grant for a CD3 trailer. That's the boat wash station that's run by solar. We were given that grant the second time around. That's a $40,000 grant. There are some things we have to do to prep for that and be down there, but it's a trailer, so it comes on and off the property, so it doesn't sit there all winter. So that'll probably come in front of the board next month for all the approval for that. To accept that grant, the next is the job posting for the emergency services chief has been posted. We're waiting to see what we get for that, for the paramedic chief. We'll start our budget discussions starting in August at a regular board meeting, as we did last year. We're currently meeting with all the different departments to prep those budgets. And then a plan is to have the form, the 4029, available by the end of September, which is what we do with that one. That's that form we have to have done. So we've got the stuff from the assessor, so we'll work through that. Twin Lakes Park, just let everybody know that we did receive another $30,000 donation for the restroom renovations. So we're close to $200,000 right now with the, between, in-kind and cash. That was from the Art and Mary Schmuckel Foundation, so they feel that's a good thing to do that with out there. The other is Timbers Pavilion renovation project. That's the White's Olson Pavilion. We received that donation last year. They finished up sealing the concrete. The painting should be wrapped up here next couple days, and then we'll do a potential ribbon cutting with the families and friend of Donna White's. Bill Smith is the one that's her husband that donated it down there. So we'll do ribbon cutting down there sometime, potentially next week with them. It'll be during the day. That's what he's asked, to have it done during the day. We'll do that, and potentially Olson's will try to attend as well. Don and Jerry will try and be there.
Will you let us know what day that is, Ron?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll give you advance notice, because
Okay, good.
Bill Smith wanted to have that as well, so he could invite their friends. So it's looking really good down there. If you get a chance to get
Yeah.
down there, it's really nice. The grass is all coming in around it. It's really a big change for what the dining hall, people remember what that looked like. I think we took it over the first night tour, there was still pizza in the oven.
Yeah, there was.
It was pretty petrified.
It was petrified.
Petrified. So that's that. And then I received today from the ARPA funds a letter that we received. Everything has been successfully completed. All the tasks, the 2 tasks for closing that out have been done, but they do reserve the right to review it and go through it again. So that's what I have. All right, anything else from anybody? All right, so we will adjourn at 9:05.
This makes up for all of our 13-minute meetings.
Yeah. See.
I think that's the longest board meeting I've ever had.
It is.
I need it.